You're live.
All right, there we go. Hey, guys, welcome to this Thursday night's Livewell here at Fish, North Georgia. We're glad you guys could join us tonight. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, click that notification bell, and, of course, follow Fish North Georgia on all the social media channels, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter even. So, guys, we got an absolutely great show in store for you tonight. We're going to talk about post-spawn bass and topwater. It's that time of year. We've been talking about the spawn coming up. We're going to do that tonight. Got Mr. Thornton here with me. Father Time's in the house right there with all his wisdom. So
Good
glad
to be
you're
here.
back. And one Jonothan Farmer is here. And listen, I'm going to tell you what. One of the most requested people I have, I ain't told him this because I don't want to give him the big head, but one of the most requested guests people ask to come back on is Jonothan because they like you're humble and you tell it like it is, buddy. So that's what they say. So, and of course, Tim's back there. Put the camera on you back there, babe. There we go. Tim's back in the house. Let's take care of some business first. Thank our fine sponsors. We're going to start off, as always, with Sonar Pros, the absolute best in the business at putting in your sonar. Take your boat and your sonar where the pros go to get it installed. And from what I'm hearing, he's got a new location that's getting ready to open up soon. It's going to be very good for you guys. 770-530-4505 by appointment only. And, of course, if you want to get on Lake Lanier and catch these big mag spots, Kevin Underwood with Lipsticker Fishing is the guide you need to get with. Look him up at lipstickerfishing.com or Facebook, that same thing. And I'm telling you right now, he's still consistently every single day posting pictures of his clients with big fish. Next, we got Evolve Rod Sleeves right there. So, hey, you hear me every week, the best on the market. And tonight, for the question of the week, we're going to be giving away a regular bait casting Evolve rod sleeve. You guys are going to love it. They float, they protect it, and you can't get your hook snagged in it. And, of course, if you're in the paddle sport game, our buddies over at Festive Waters off Highway 369, whether you're into the fun stuff or fishing, they got something for you, and they can do a little bit of rigging as well. Look them up at www.festivewater.com and tell them Fish North Georgia sent you. The Money Saver Lure Retriever. Now, I'm going to tell you real quick, we've got a video that's going to be coming out of this thing in action. I have never seen a lure retriever look like a torpedo going through the water. It's going to make you guys think again about your plug knockers. The best I've ever seen. Got them right here at Fish North Georgia. They'll be up on the website soon. And, of course, we got in the background Turner Tire. If you're in the Jasper area, guys, and you need new tires for your truck or car, Brock and the family up there will set you up right. Small town, great people, good prices. 706-253-3339. And, of course, Etowah Mead Beer and Wine. And tonight we got the Sky Squirrel Wheat Fruited Sour. Again, guys, if you like mead, go to their website at etowahmeadery.com, and they can ship you some, or just go up there in person and check them out. It's a great place. So, as guys will be logging on here, we'll get the conversation started. So, you guys in already, Neil and Cam and Luke and Justin Warren. Hey, I'm glad that tonight we got the mics working from the get-go. And listen, it's going to be a great evening. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this, we originally had Emil Wagner and Kaz Anderson scheduled, but we had to reschedule them due to a new tournament fishing conflict. So I thought this would be a good time to do an informational type podcast on what we need to do to catch post-spawn bass. And the topwater is here. Nick is here for the creamed corn. So, Jonathan, how you been, buddy?
I've been pretty good. Just working a lot.
Working a lot?
Playing with kids mostly.
Playing with the kids. Well, hey, that's what we all got to do. You did that back in the day. You do it with grandkids now, don't you?
I still do it with the grandkids.
You still
That's
do
correct.
it. So let's talk about what's going on right now. So it seems I fished a tournament this weekend on Latham, and I talked to some guys that fished on some of the larger lakes, Lanier and Allatoon and all that. It seems like not the last, but the main group of spawners have come and gone. Now, is that what you've been hearing, Jonathan? Or seeing, whichever one?
Yeah, most of your spawners have come. You're getting the tail end of them now. Your spots actually were behind this year, I felt like. You go to the flats where they would be spawning at consistently every year, but the weather we had, it's been weird.
It seems this year's different.
It's been really weird this year.
Yeah.
Heck, our buddy of mine was out on Altoona yesterday catching them off walls, and catching buck bass that were still pissing everywhere, like they hadn't spawned, but they were nowhere near a flat or anything to spawn on. They were on sheer walls.
Yeah, that's one of the things we noticed. So Blake and I fished over at Latham, had a great day numbers wise. We caught 40 bass, should have put 60 in the boat. Every one of them were 14 inches, and a lot of them were still doing that. They were still leaking their bodily fluids a little bit. Had the orange eyes, everything looked fine, but the largemouth that were weighed in that tournament all looked like they were post spawn. They were all back to that skinny. Nothing had a real big stomach. So, what's up with that? Give me your best guess.
I think a lot of them moved up when that first warming trend come through. They moved up, kind of did their business. That cold snap came and moved them back out. So they may have spawned out, but because the water temperature dipped or something like that, they just moved out and never came back up.
Really? So one thing, and Kevin, you're going to fish on Sinclair this weekend, right?
Correct.
So is the bed game in play for you, or are you thinking that's done down there, down South Georgia in the flatlands?
I think it's done down there. I think if anything, it's going to be the smaller fish moving up. I think the bigger females have already been up,
Big
done
ones
their
have already
business
been
and
up.
gone. Yeah.
It's just different. Yeah. Normally what we see on Latham is I see bass bedding all well. I've seen them as late May, early June still on bed up there. But traveling around, I did not see anything that looked like a huge spawn had
I
come.
think you have normal weather patterns. May and June might work, but the way it's been this year, up and down, the heat and then cold and heat again.
Or say we had a 85 today,
Yeah.
but it's supposed to dip back down in the 50s this weekend.
We'll know something in a week because I think we had a full moon coming up, so
Yeah.
we'll see what happens then.
So what's the water temp? The water temp on Latham was 60 when we checked, and I was talking to other guys. 60, 61. What's Allatoona on?
I don't want to lie to you. I wouldn't.
You wouldn't know right now. So
I haven't been in like a week or so.
Okay, so got the comments. Neil, yeah, we do need a new post office building up here. Bless our hearts. Post office, that's kind of the USPS right now is one of those things. Them boys ain't doing too good since they opened up that new place down there.
Palmetto. That's your problem right there. I promise.
It is.
You.
It's 100%. I've sent stuff. I got the tracking numbers. It's stuck down there. Catching them on Topwater in Tidal, Georgia right now. Fred, I appreciate you joining us. And yeah, we're definitely going to get to the Topwater because that is something that I'm hearing. I heard a lot about it in the shop today. And that's kind of what we want to do, kind of give you a little feed, feeding you the info of what's been told, what guys are seeing on the water here, because we want you guys to get out there and catch fish. Cam H right there. Now, this is a good question. A lot of guys fish the farm ponds. Do you guys feel that smaller ponds spawn differently than the larger lakes? I do.
They're going to spawn a lot earlier than
They warm up
main
quicker.
lake.
Warms up. It's all
Yeah.
about that water temp.
Those small farm ponds and stuff will be in the 70s, almost high 70s before big bodies of water even get like 65.
That's some of them guys down in the bottom of the comments are throwing out the temperature. I saw 70 today, about 1:30. Lanier 66 degrees on Tuesday. Guy B saw several on bed yesterday. Nobody knows. It's just this year. It's something that's totally different. Now, get your fish on. Hey, buddy. Now, guys, I want to shout this guy out. Get Your Fish On is a YouTube page. He's got a page. He does a lot of good commentary videos and all that. And are we going to have Alan on soon to talk about the next TAA tournament? Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
We are. He's already said when he's ready to announce and stuff like that, we will have him on. And but guys, listen, not right now because you're watching me. But once it's over with, go check his page out. And I want to tell you, buddy, I appreciate you giving us a shout out while we were doing the TAA tournament. I like your channel. I follow you. You do good stuff right there. So you're entertaining. I like it. WC Outdoors. Just wondering, do you guys throw big swim baits? And if you do, what lakes do you think are best for them in Georgia? Which is funny. We had Jeremiah Giles up here just a little while ago. He left right before the show started. And, of course, he had on a big Buka. I forget what model was that he had on. Was it a trick shad?
I think it was one of the ones that they only made like 50 of.
Yeah, so
It was one of the $200 ones.
Yeah.
Well, that's Jeremiah. Jeremiah's got the he's bougie when it comes
He
to swim
is.
baits. You know, guys have been throwing, and when you say big swim baits, the mag draft has been being tossed around now for about a month and a half, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Right now, I would be throwing something like a shad, some kind of glide bait versus the soft bodied swim bait, because then I can make it sit in an area a lot longer, and you can draw those fish up.
So a slower presentation instead of like ripping it like a Seville, which we'll get into.
Yeah,
because
but I'm fishing. I'm also, when I'm fishing that, I'm not fishing open water. I'm fishing around docks, laydowns, cover.
Yeah, you're a structure guy.
I want that glide bait just slow, or just sitting there going back and forth, and almost like a spot.
Oh, sorry.
Kind of like you can do like a walking bait on a topwater, and you can make it pretty much walk in one spot and just hit it back and forth. Same thing with a glide bait.
Yeah,
just make it back and forth in one spot.
Now that's a big lake technique.
Mm-hmm.
So how about for Cam that's on a farm pond? Would you be throwing a big glide bait like that?
Big bluegill, or because I don't know if in his farm pond if he'd have shad or not. Or
I think it's more bluegill.
Bluegill, I'd have one of the bluegill style baits, big bulky glide baits that look like a brim. Throwing it out there, you probably catch an absolute monster doing that in a farm pond.
Pull up Scottster's comment right up there at the top, because this is something that I've heard a lot of people say. What's confusing me is none of the fish I've caught are beat up from spawning.
I haven't seen many of them.
A lot of them don't have the red tails. I mean, and I'm sure this varies, but just from what we've seen with our own eyes, it doesn't look like a fish that's been making love on a bed for a while.
Yeah, they're usually pretty rough.
They are.
I watched the TNA tournament that y'all are at. I watched some of the weigh-in. I saw a couple largemouth that they pulled out had the bloody tail and everything, like they caught them off bed. But I haven't seen many. I've been told that people been seeing a lot on bed, but it's been different. They're not set up like they have been in the past.
You see, I heard a little different from Sinclair in that the bigger fish, some of the females, the tails are bloody and they've spawned out, but the smaller females haven't.
You're good. Yeah.
That's why I'm thinking the bigger ones are up and gone, and the smaller ones are still moving up.
A lot of largemouth this year have congregated to shade lines versus hard structure. I have noticed that.
Do you think that's a result of this winter was so much different and fish different than normal? Do you think that's just a result, an ongoing, whether it be temperature? We really didn't have a cold winter. I mean, what do you think?
We've had a lot of storms.
Right. Well, he works for the EMC. He's going to know.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of storms, a lot of lightning, and I've always noticed it, and I heard it the other night when y'all were talking about it. Somebody went, and then we had that big storm come through, a bunch of lightning, and those spawning fish were gone.
Yeah.
They moved.
Yeah, that was last week.
Lightning chased them off.
Yeah.
And I've backed that up fully. I've gone out after a storm and had fish located.
And then they're gone.
They're gone.
That's interesting. No, but you don't think about that. Hey guys, I hate all you guys in the comments saying what's up. Clarence Stowers caught a 5-pound lip off bed and also caught one on a chrome cane walker over brush. So all over the place right now. And that's right. So that tonight, we're going to talk about this post spawn pattern, and we're going to get into that topwater and that Seville bite. That stuff is absolutely happening. Pull up, get your fish on one more time. Hit that like button. For these guys, everyone watching, cheers. Hey, cheers to you, buddy. Appreciate you. And the next one down, Big Al. There's the boom. So I think this is becoming a tradition on Thursday nights. Big Al comes in and he gives us one of the beautiful women from back in the 80s and all that. So his choice tonight is Heather Locklear. Now, Heather Locklear, do you even know who that is?
I do. Good
I know
choice.
You do.
Good choice.
Look,
I agree. That's a good one, Al.
Farmer's a little younger than us, so he's kind of like, I don't know about that. She was good. She's a little skinny. I think she could have used a little more meat. What do you think?
Well, I like meat with my taters, but I think she was pretty hot myself.
Big Al, thank you for your selection of Babes from the Past by Big Al.
Absolutely.
That's
I wouldn't argue with it at all. I'll just take my gift.
Jeremiah. Okay, Jeremiah popped up. He's driving. Jeremiah, I know you're driving right now, buddy. So you be careful out there. Bull shad, glide, and trick shad. So that's what he's been throwing. And hey,
I'd be curious to know on that Clarence Stowers, on that one that he caught over the brush, was that fish spawned out?
Okay, so there you go. So Clarence Stowers in the comments, could you please answer Kevin's question? Do you think that fish that you caught over brush was spawned out? So that would be,
because a lot of times after spawn, they'll move out to a brush pile a little deeper.
it could be.
First couple docks out from where they spawned. They ain't going far because
they got to recuperate.
Well, they're going to recuperate, and not too long after that, the brim and the shad are coming to them.
So they're not going out over the timber or nothing like that. So they're staying.
Spots might.
Yeah, but the largemouth, they know what's coming. Let's see. Luke Turner. Tim, did you show Danny the fish? Tim, did you?
I will show him that fish. I wasn't up here that night. It was one of the Tuesday night shows, and he sent me a message of it was a beautiful, I believe, some sort of very beautiful colored trout. I will show him that after the show. I promise.
Absolutely. I want to see that. And Neil Scoggins has got a comment about the babe of the night, the Big Al babe of the night. She probably had all the meat that she needed.
Thanks, Clarence. He said no, it hadn't spawned out.
Yeah, okay, so no, hadn't spawned out. So that's interesting right there.
I've noticed a lot of them still staging, like they're still sitting on that.
Waiting to come up.
Waiting to come up.
See, and that's why you can't figure this time of year out. Nick B, interesting question right here. Appreciate you, buddy. Do you think the wind could be a part of it? I'm on a kayak. I will be soon. And rough wind can keep me off the water. I feel like there's been more high windy days this year than normal.
There has.
Let me tell you.
A lot of bad windy days.
Sunday on Latham, they were forecasting 5 mile per hour winds. At 9 o'clock, hey, kill that bee right there. Slap that thing. I've been trying. No, never mind. There's a bee that's been here all day. I've been chasing that joker. He just landed on the table. They forecasted 5 mile per hour winds. Just a nice 72 degrees. By 9 o'clock that morning, it was 20, 25, and it just seemed sustained.
That's a Verheyen forecast because he'll be like, hey, it's only going to be like 5 miles an hour, and we're out there on rollers with the trolling motor bouncing.
Listen, there was at one point, my old tracks, I had it pointed right into the thing, and I had it on 10, and I was going backwards. I mean, it was that windy for a while. We actually, which was a blessing to us, we hid in a pocket, and we started catching fish in the timber. But what was weird, and maybe you guys have experienced something like this. I was telling the guys before, we spent 5 hours in maybe 4, in one pocket on Latham, and we would catch a largemouth, and then 2 foot a spot, 2 foot past it, another largemouth. The spots in the largemouth were mixed together all through this with no rhyme or reason as to why they were all congregated in an area like that. You ever experienced anything like that?
Yeah. I've found areas where you'll go down 100-yard stretches and there'd be nothing, and then you get to one little bitty area and there they are. They're just stuck there.
All of them.
50 of them.
Yeah, that's the way it was. So our buddy Ken Pruitt, limit by 8 a.m. on a prop bait last Sunday on Lanier. Hey, it makes sense.
That prop bait's hard to beat. A lot of people don't throw it around here.
So what kind of models?
It's more of a Florida
bait.
Florida bait,
like the old devil horse.
Okay.
But a prop bait around here works really, really well. Calls them up.
Is it just not as sexy up here? You know, we got all these other fancy walkers and all that.
Well, since didn't it originate in Florida or something like that?
Yeah, down in Okeechobee.
Well, you're from Florida.
Originated in Okeechobee.
Yeah, and
that's an Okeechobee bait. Okay.
Everybody sees it as a shallow water bait, like a buzz bait or anything like that.
Especially being on Okeechobee, where deep is 8 foot.
A lot of wind in Florida too.
Yeah,
a lot more than what Georgia.
Shallow water and the wind, so it makes sense there. But you're saying
it works just as well over 30 foot to call them up out of those brush piles.
All right, guys. So there's a little bit of juice. Not a lot of guys are throwing it, and those that are, they're not talking about it. So appreciate that, Ken.
You get a good little ripple on the top of the water and pop that thing and make it spit water everywhere.
Yeah,
they'll come up unglued
and nail it. So Neil Scoggins says all the bedfish he saw today were small, but heard of some very good ones being caught off the bed, and that's true. There's some good ones being caught, but big fish for Latham was 5, and I honestly thought somebody would pull. Some of the better anglers in that club would pull a 7 or an 8 off the bed. I expected it, but and that 5-pounder looked spawned out. So it was just, it might be lake to lake, spot to spot.
Those prop baits are good shallow too, because when those males are guarding the fry and there's commotion going on there, they'll attack it.
All right, well, let me ask you this. You got to pick a prop bait and you got to pick a color. So a brand and a color. If a guy wants to go right now on Lanier or Allatoona or any of these high water.
If I was going to do Allatoona, I'd go with probably a torpedo.
What color? Like shad color or bluegill color or what?
I'd probably go with a white right now.
Just a white. Just keep it basic. What about you?
Colored.
Torpedo's probably the better answer out of. There's one that is made out of balsa wood, and I can't remember the name out of it that I like, but I've only got 2 of them left, and I haven't bought another one since.
Well, let me ask you: if you're throwing a prop bait, can you throw the dreaded whopper plopper in the same spots, or is that a totally different action?
Totally different sound.
Okay,
Totally different.
all right. I want to make
your prop baits. You
Keeps-
got little bitty metal blades back there that when you slap it, it makes a little ticking sound as it goes around, but it's very subtle. But it throws water everywhere like a whopper plotter.
So you get the splash with a little less commotion as far as noise.
Yeah.
Okay, it makes sense. Clarence says a lot of spots still on bed on humps and shallow pockets, sandy flats. They was fanning everywhere Tuesday on Lake Lanier. So again, it's been what?
It may
3
be a
weeks
late-
since the TAA?
About 3 weeks. Yeah.
3 weeks. And so
It may be a late spawn this year. We all may be thinking they've already spawned out, but there may be a bunch of them that haven't moved up yet.
Yeah, the waves, they come in waves. So
yeah, I can't fish are like women. You just can never figure them things out.
Amen.
but they
Clarence-
come in waves and they leave in waves too. So you got some coming, some going.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
right,
for sure.
We're right in the middle. I mean, I'm sure we've got some post spawn. We've still got some that are spawning, and I'm sure there's some are still in that pre-spawn mode, sitting there just chewing on everything you throw.
Yeah, so you pretty much can do a little bit of everything right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. JP Vern, good to see you guys. Thanks for coming by. I gave him some worms. Sorry you didn't get on the shell cracker, but that might be the same thing. They might be a little late this year on Latham. I know they're there. Twin prop bait or tail prop bait?
I like the twin.
You like the twin. And
I like the twin. It throws more water, more commotion because I'm not throwing it unless it's windy.
so that's what, okay. Let's,
If it's dead calm, I won't throw
no
it.
prop bait if it's dead calm right now.
I'll throw a walking bait or a popper.
Okay. Now, one thing I heard a lot of guys that had come in the shop this week, they were telling me when they were throwing a walking bait on Lanier, and you guys in the comment section chime in on this. And one thing too, if I miss your question, if we get too many, we don't address your question. Make sure you put it again so that we can get your question answered. Earlier in the week, the guys that were catching topwater were talking about working it very slow,
Mm-hmm.
even a walking bait like a popper, and they were getting hit on the paws. So almost like a pop, whatever, let it sit for a second or two, go right back at it. And they were getting hit on the strike came on the paws. Now that's not going to happen with a devil horse or anything like that.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah, well,
Well, you pause it or you just straight
Yeah,
reel it?
you
Okay, so
pause
you're
it.
doing both.
Same thing.
Okay.
Same thing as a popper. Pop, let it sit.
yeah, they'll
Pop,
force
pop, let it sit.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I've had some of the biggest eruptions is when I feel like, all right, I'm out of the strike zone.
and go to
start-
crank it.
Go to cranking it real fast, and they'll come up behind it. And
Just blow up on it.
Chug bug too.
Yeah. So Justin Warren's he's kind of echoing. He fished that tournament I was in, and he just basically said every time they passed by, I was still stuck in that timber. I wasn't giving it. There was fish there. The only bite was on timber and laydowns. That's all it was. It was weird. Grant Carmichael. Let's pull up what he did here. Sunday on Lanier caught 3 small ones on the bank, but started noticing brush piles in 20 to 25 foot of water were loaded with fatties. Caught about 5 in the 3 to 4 pound range. One was dropping eggs all in the boat.
that's that pre-spawn. Like I said, we may
They're waiting.
they're waiting. I don't know what they're waiting on, but they're waiting.
Right. Again, like women. Hey, appreciate you saying that. And guys, listen, and if you pay attention to the comment section, there is as much juice gets dropped in the comments as what we say on the show. So pay attention. A lot of good information in the comments.
Scroll those comments because sometimes it doesn't make it up on the screen.
That's
but
right.
your answer may be in there from somebody.
Yeah, we got Tim on overload back there just keeping up with us and the way we talk. So, but let's see. JP also had some nice ones chasing a 3.5 swim bait on Latham. And guys, for you that don't know what Latham is, of course, it's a 340 acre electric reservoir. It is basically a mini scale down Lake Lanier without the rocks. If it had rocks in it, enough rocks, it would be Lake Lanier, blueback, threadfin, all that. And we're going to talk a little bit about shad spawn because there's a lot of talk about that going up. Let's see. Okay, how about Guy B? He's got a good question right here. I had 6 to 8, Vicious hits on an E-pop, but nothing hooked. Do you change the size, color, and style if that's happening?
If you're getting them to come up and explode on it, but they're still not getting it, it's either your color's off or your size is off. More than likely, you probably got the same size plug.
Different color.
Different. So you would change the color before you would the size.
Yes.
Okay.
Because they like the size. They're coming
They're
after
coming
the
up
size.
after it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're showing
But
themselves.
something's off.
So instead of hitting it full force with their mouth open and engulfing it, they're just popping it.
I know a lot of people discredit this, and they don't think it works. But if I'm having a fish do that a lot, come up and smack at a bait, and I give them something to key on. That's why I'll change. Like a lot of my top waters have a red treble hook on the front of it, because red shows up in
the upper water column,
or 1 to 5 foot. Well, they come up to the top, they can see it, but they'll key on that red spot. Or I'll take a Sharpie and draw a false eye, like a lot of our shad have in our lakes, on the side of the bait. So when I'm walking it looks like a dying shad going back and forth like an actual shad.
So just coloring that. And guys, listen, Farmer taught me some tricks with some Sharpies. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, one day we might do a video on it, but keep you some Sharpies in the boat. That can change a day. So Luke Turner says the E-pop's starting to work. Scottster says, from what I've experienced the last month, I'm leaning towards a late spawn, which is, you're probably dead on. It's just been weird. Let's see what we got. Let's see. When they aren't eating fast, pop it or walk it, pause long enough for the ripples to clear. Has always been a good technique for me.
I don't know if it's a late spawn or a longer spawn because of the weather.
It could be.
Because 3 weeks ago they were on bed
At the TAA. That's what they were catching.
I don't get it. It's been weird this year.
It's been weird. So we're doing our best to keep up with it, as weird as it's been. Clint Bartlett, what's up, buddy? He got some eats off the drone with 4+ pound spots, giant stripers, and 2 foot of water chasing. And of course, he's with cast and all that. So yeah, I think
that's another one that I like to throw. Is they're 20 gram.
The smaller OG they just came out.
The smaller OG. If the wind's blowing, I will go. I either got the prop bait, the cast OG, or I think you've got the Vixen in here too.
I don't have any Vixens anymore.
I thought you had some.
I did have some. They're gone. Mm-hmm. So that's good. But I tell you what, so I talked to Ryan Hanks on the phone yesterday. No, it was this morning. And he was telling me about that there was just monster fish up shallow, including stripers and 2 foot of water. And that was just this past week. Well, sometime during this week, I think. Clint, you can correct me if I'm wrong on that. Kim Pruitt said big fish on Saturday and Sunday came on Danny's Little Worm. Shoal dropping into deep water, and other from Paul's last podcast tip. Listen, wacky worm. Every one of our fish came on a wacky worm like that. But Danny's Little Worm, I've heard that, huh?
It's the wacky worm time of year.
I told some high schoolers in here today, they said, hey, what can we do just to catch a limit on Sunday? I said, beat every red clay bank on Lake Lanier with a wacky worm. You'll come across 5.
Or skip docks with it.
Yeah, well, they're getting started. So that's why I
definitely go skipping with it.
Skipping with it. And actually, we had a couple gentlemen, and they might be watching tonight. There's a club from Eufaula that is up here on Lake Lanier fishing Saturday and Sunday in a tournament. And these 2 gentlemen came in, which if you do watch, it was good meeting you. And they had spent today going out of Charleston Park area, skipping docks, and they only got a couple. So is that more of a just kind of a area specific thing with the docks? Like, is it south end, mid lake, or north?
I'm only targeting the certain docks. I'm not going down main lake targeting every dock I see. If I go into a spawning pocket, I'm targeting the last 4.
Okay.
Deepest.
The last 4 ain't going into the pocket because I'm catching the ones that are moving back out. I'm catching the ones that are moving in, and I'm catching the ones that have just come off bed and are sitting under the docks recovering.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not, and the word pinch point is not good, but like a pinch area. That's just an area, just a perfect
look
on the graph. That's just a perfect area.
Look for your spawning bait. Look for your. This is largemouth particularly. Look for your spawning bays where there's the biggest area of flats and stuff for these fish to spawn. Then you're going to come out, and it's going to be your first line of docks
off of that.
off of the spawning bay, and they're going to sit right there. The ones moving up are going to sit there. The ones moving out are going to sit there, and the ones that have come off bed, the big females, to recover, are going to sit under them.
There's you some juice right there, guys.
That's how I caught that 10-8 on Notley. Doing
Deepest, furthest back in, yeah.
All right, so Michael Martin says white underspin bait has been doing good, and I've heard. Now, that kind of leads into the talk about a shad spawn going on, and we've had reports here of guys fishing bridge pilings, blow-throughs. Now, I don't know if it's threadfin or bluebacks. Don't know which one yet, but there are guys talking and seeing things like that going on the lake. So that is a nice shirt on me. Look at this. That's right. Academy, $24.99. Academy, we'd love you to come on as a sponsor.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's see. Red treble and feathers on the rear, kind of something similar to what you said. And again, that's not about like a lot of guys say, I put red on it because it's blood. That's just it's just something that
for those
looks different.
Just a
when
target.
they're coming. If I'm sure everybody on here has noticed when you're fishing topwater, they'll come up underneath it like they're going to crash it, and then right at the last second, turn and go off. Something's not right. Something is off. That's why I'll start changing treble hooks, feather trebles, and another thing that I do, that if they're keying on that really small stuff, especially this is more towards the summer, but when they're really keying on that really little stuff, is take you a clear topwater and put you a feather treble on the back of it.
Yes.
And work that clear topwater, and that feather back there mimics those little bitty bait fish. They'll come up and eat it.
Juice number 2 right there. So I love it. This is why everybody always says, can you bring Jonathan back on? He gives you those tips like that.
Yeah, JP Vern, red treble and feathers on the rear.
It is. Now, let me ask you this. I did a podcast with Henry Cowan 3 or 4 years ago. And for those of you that don't know, world famous fly tire. And on Lake Lanier, he fishes for stripers in the winter with his fly rod. Now, if I might be wrong, but I think I remember this correctly. He said fish that come up on top and they're doing that, if you will just turn around and do something that's subsurface a foot or so, you'll get those fish as well. Mm-hmm. So if they're coming up on a popper and they're not hitting it, what is something like maybe you got another rod right there?
Good follow-up bait.
Follow-up bait, real quick. What would be a good choice for that?
Yeah, fluke.
Go back with the fluke.
I go back with a fluke. And if I'm seeing what size bait fish they're throwing, I'm either going to throw the original 6-inch,
right,
or the 5-inch.
Yeah, I think it's 5-inch.
And then the junior if they're on the small stuff.
So go a little bit smaller with that.
And if they're really on the little stuff, I'll throw the Mimicking armor shad.
Okay.
Really little one.
So there you go. It makes sense. Kind of just letting the fish tell you.
Yeah, I want the fish are going to tell you throughout the day what they want.
And if you throw back in there with a follow-up bait and they're not hitting it, they're concentrating on the top water. Then you can do those changes like you're talking about.
Well, something's not right. A lot of times what you can do with those subsurface baits too, you can take a Kitech on a 1/4 ounce jig head, the 2.8,
mm-hmm.
and throw it back out there and let it go down about 5 foot and slow roll it back. And you'll get crushed that way. Because it goes down a little bit further. You're not losing the school. A lot of times when you're schoolie fishing like that, I've noticed if you throw out there with a fluke, the school come up over here 25 feet and you're still fishing the fluke over here.
Yeah.
If you throw back with something that's got a little weight to it and get down to them quick enough.
Get down quick. So speed of getting in front of the fish.
You can pick one up.
Is schooling going on right now?
I've heard that there are some schooling going on.
So, okay, so we're getting into that.
Mm-hmm.
And now schooling fish would be post-spawn fish?
I would say so, but I've heard it. I've heard it said there's some people that believe that some of these spots on Lanier never spawn. They just sit out there and eat.
Okay. That's a whole nother topic.
I've heard people say that spawning to spotted bass is an inconvenience to their lifestyle.
I think all they do is spawn and eat. That's all they spawn.
I agree.
That's all I do. That's all I do. But my wife would beg to differ. She's going to say it's mostly eat. Fred Ashcroft funnel area, Danny. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Not funnel area. Rapala has the best prop bait, KJ says. So, hey, absolutely. It might.
Isn't that the devil horse?
No.
That's a Smithwick
Yeah,
or something.
Smithwick is devil
yeah.
horse.
Yeah.
the Rapala looks a lot like a devil horse, doesn't it?
I don't know.
No, that's that big fat one.
The Rapala is?
I can't remember.
You guys, if you
I've
know
got
the
so
big
many
Devil
baits.
horse has got that round in the center. It gets fatter.
No, I've got so many baits rattling around in my head.
He's a simple man. He's a simple man. We can't put it on him too fast. It'll come out. What was that one you had pulled up?
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, right up there. So it's right above the next one, going up one more. Right there. Richard Smith. All right, Richard, appreciate your question tonight. Do y'all ever fish lakes that don't seem to have a good topwater bite?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Give me an example around here. And it might not be around here.
here,
Lanier's phenomenal when it's
Most
on.
of your Clearwater lakes have good topwater bites.
Yeah.
It's when you start getting into that dirtier stuff, your topwater bite your offshore topwater bite goes away. I mean, you can go to Oconee and Sinclair and still get a topwater bite, but it's shallow with a buzzbait.
That's what I was getting ready to ask him because he's fishing Sinclair this weekend. If you're going to be looking for something.
I got a buzzbait and topwater tied on, ready to go.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
the topwater bite's not going to be as great as, say, Lanier or Altoona or Notley, Blue Ridge, is because the water's not as clear and they don't have herring. Herring stays towards the top of the water when the sun's out. When the sun's out, the herring are near the top of the water. When it's cloudy, they're deeper.
Okay. Well, why has nobody talked about a buzzbait so far tonight? We're talking about pops and I mean, can you throw a buzzbait right now for the top water?
Absolutely.
Well,
First thing in the morning before the sun gets up, tie you on a black buzzbait or a white buzzbait and go down the bank
So that sun breaks the treetops.
and look out for a monster to eat it.
So, okay. So, but right now,
That'd be
it's
the
spots
first thing
and
to throw.
the first thing you throw. I get it on Sinclair, and I know I throw them on
I
Lanier
do it in I do
Any
it on
lake.
Carter's.
till the sun gets up above the trees. Or
Mhm.
keep it in the shade.
Soon as that sun starts breaking the trees,
Well, do you target the shady, like you go in a pocket, do you target the shady bank or the sunny bank?
I'm going to target the one that gets the sun first because that's where most of your spawners are.
That's what I figured you would say right there. Justin Warren, what color feathers are you using right now on, say, an evergreen, for example? Just a white?
on the back.
Yeah.
I just do a white, but if I've got a little off-colored water, but it's not dirty, it's just a little off-color, I'll put a chartreuse treble on the back.
Okay, the tail feather, chartreuse tail feather. All right.
White. I try to do it with what I'm trying to mimic too. White feathers with any shad type. If I'm mimicking panfish, chartreuse.
Okay, good tip.
Because I'm sure everybody's seen it. You look at a brim in the water, their tail has got a chartreuse shimmer to it.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with. That's why with like jig fishing, everybody dips their tail. Dip your tails in chartreuse. What's a jig mimic besides a crawfish? Brim.
Yeah, brim. All right, so an X prop.
X prop.
That's the name of it. Appreciate you, Clint Bartley. You're better for so much more than just your great photography. Go up a couple on that. I thought we missed one question right up there, and I might. Let's see. Yeah, I've never figured out how to pronounce that. Is it EWE2K? EWE2K?
EWE2K?
EWE2K?
I don't know.
E-week.
He says throw a fluke to follow up. Also a wacky throw it to blow out. That's what I would do.
A wacky's hard to beat because it looks like they come up, hit it, and killed it, and now it's sinking.
Yeah. Ken Pruitt says the vapor lock has not happened yet.
I know it. I saw it.
The night is young.
He's right behind you. He's on camera. See him back there?
Yeah, we're definitely.
See him laughing?
Who's that?
I took my meds. I'm okay.
Oh, I didn't know you were here.
Yeah, he's sitting over there sending that.
Son of a gun.
He's sending it, and I'm looking over the top of the monitors at him, and he's back there just.
I did not know.
He's just
See,
throwing shade.
he's right there.
Why don't y'all listen? Why don't y'all let me in on something? I didn't hear him come in. Well, glad you could join us tonight, there, dog. I thought you was going to be out of town. Straight from the airport. See, listen, that's dedication.
That is dedication.
Ken Pruitt.
He knew there were
Dedication.
chicken wings here.
He knew. Yeah, he was hungry and it was free.
Yeah, he noticed he parked right
Beer and
next to him.
chicken wings. He knew where he could get them right there. So, pull up Clint Bartlett one's right there. You're right there by it with your going down. Oh, he said for sure schooling, blowing 5 to 6 inch herring out of the water. Some pre-spawn looking spots too.
Mhm.
Again, it's crazy.
That goes back to what I said. I think there's some spots on Lanier that never even try to go up there and do their business.
I had to each their own, right? And JP Vernon says, y'all ever run a grub or a crappie jig tied about 4 to 8 inches off the back of a topwater bait? An old Bill dance trick. Now listen, last time you did that, I made a TikTok and I got accused of being a gatekeeper. People, and I didn't even know what the hell a gatekeeper was.
I don't do a crappie jig. I actually go to a fly shop and get a streamer and put on the back of my topwater. And as I'm bringing it through, that streamer's back there doing this.
So almost kind of like a donkey rig in a way.
Rig, but I do take the back treble off. And it's usually with a lot smaller topwater that I'm doing it with.
Yeah.
I leave the front treble on, take the back treble off, tie straight to the O-ring, and go to the back with a streamer.
They used to, and I don't know what it was called, but they used to make a bait that was about 3/4 inches long with a treble on it that you would tie in front of the fluke.
We're going to get them that because Tim Hancock right down there.
I've done the same thing. I've done the same thing. Yeah, front runner.
Front runner is what you're talking about to get that competition thing going.
Yep.
Appreciate you joining us tonight, Tim.
I've done the same thing, kind of like as with a front runner, is I'll take a small walking bait, like the little Rapala spook that you can get that's real small from Walmart, and I'll put a big walking bait or a popper behind it. And I'm sitting there, and that little thing's trying like it's trying to run from something bigger behind it, and brings it.
Listen to you guys tonight. This is some good stuff right there. That was on Burton. I think Clint Bartlett said we were seeing all that stuff. So them Temu baits all day, Christopher Elrod. Yeah, listen, you can get them 47 cents all day. You ever bought anything off Temu?
Mm-mm.
My wife does. I ain't figured it out. So
your baits need to come from Fish North Georgia. I'm just telling you.
Thank you, Tim.
Is Temu like the Wish of
yes
community?
Well, no, it's like everything. You can buy dresses, whatever. It's just one of them sites right there.
Just don't trust the size or measurements.
Is
now,
that like that?
Yeah, it's like that. So I want to put. So this is based purely off the comments, and so if you guys are listening on iTunes or Spotify later on when I put this up, you might not get it. Go back up just a little bit, right there. So Tim Hancock fishes Rocky a lot. Probably knows that lake as good as anybody. And JP says down there, 2 answers down, Rocky sucks for topwater.
I concur.
Okay, so you concur, but I'd like to get in the comment section. I'd like to get Tim's thoughts on topwater because I'll be honest with you, I've watched a million Fluke Master videos. I've watched some of Tim's and all that. Not a lot of them are on topwater. I'm not saying it doesn't happen there, but it seems to be a lake that's better suited for down deep. But Tim, in the comment sections, I know you got an opinion on it, big dog. Throw it out there for me. Lucky Craft has good prop baits. Lake Blackshear topwater is far and few between. So that's another lake that's kind of rough. But isn't that a dirtier lake?
It'd be more your buzz bait kind
of
deal.
Okay.
Or your whopper plopper.
Yeah, just something that throws off a lot of commotion on that. Temples wants to know, how's the topwater bite going to be at Hard Labor this weekend, which Hard Labor is, I think it's 1,200 acre electric only reservoir down by Social Circle.
Isn't it the one in Canton? Is it Hard Labor?
No, that's Hickory Log. Hard Labor is by Social Circle or Loganville out that way.
Oh. Is it mostly largemouth?
It is.
I'd still be crashing the bank with largemouth.
Would you still throw a buzz bait though early?
Buzz bait early.
Yep.
Okay, there you go, Michael. So good luck down there. I know you're gonna be out there fishing the tournament. Clint Bartlett, David Williams spanked their ass on a light buzz bait at the TAA, and that was one of the things when I interviewed him. I heard him on stage saying, "Yeah, I caught them fish on a buzz bait," and he was bringing them over the beds. I never thought about. And technically, it is bed fishing, but it's not the typical throw something in the bed.
Bed fishing, all you're trying to do is make that fish mad enough to bite, trying to get whatever's coming through out of its bed. Mm-hmm. Well, something making a lot of racket.
Didn't you say follow it up with a worm or a wacky? One of those two.
He said something like that.
I believe that's correct. Yeah, I think he was smoking the buzz bait, and if that kind of got him stirred up, he'd throw something else back there and it would linger.
Sure he said that.
And that was 3 weeks ago. So yeah, it was impressive. I did not expect that answer. Okay, we almost got a vapor lock. What are you laughing at?
Iwi 2K.
It's called Ooh. It's called okay. So this is how you pronounce this. Everybody look on the thing. Y'all look at that name right there. It's Ooh Wee, but just call me Joe. So all right, Joe. If you came,
thanks for tuning in, Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. If you came in the shop, you'd be Bud. because everybody walks in the shop. It's called Bud, and I can't remember anybody's name, but every week you put that name on there, and I'm like, I cannot pronounce that name. KJ, when do the bass on Burton start to spawn? Again, northeast corner of Georgia, a little farther up, and that lake is
cold.
It is cold. That's a totally different scenario, and super clear water, like
clear.
almost Michigan, Lake Michigan. Those rivers up there kind of clear.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the clearest water on any lake in Georgia, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, but I mean, we've already about missed it. But I love just to go to Burton. And I don't live bait fish much, but you can go to the hatchery and buy trout and go to them docks and flip them things under there and watch them swim in. And all of a sudden they'll turn around your line. There's about a 9-pounder on its butt, just about to eat it.
I would be too if I was going to be eating. Let's see. So Popper with a trailer, Georgia boy says, hey, listen, that's the juice you get when farmers.
Sharing's caring.
Sharing is caring. We are not gatekeepers here at Fish North Georgia. Now that I know what that means, we want everybody to catch fish. 100%. Yeah, front runner. So we got that. I like how dresses was the first thing that came into Danny's mind. Listen, it is what it is. There's a reason I go to church every Sunday. There is a reason. The Lord is working on me. But he also said, look at Farmer dropping the juice tonight. That's right. He does it every time. Georgia Boy 44 right there says, I caught him with the old Rapala floating minnow on Hartwell Tuesday. You know what? That's interesting you say that. That's what I grew up. That's what Topwater was for me in the 80s. Now, granted, I was on farm ponds and stuff but it was the 6-inch, sometimes the gold side, sometimes the silver, basic Rapala. That was what Topwater was. Still works, still catches fish. Nobody throws it. Why? Listen, Jonathan's over there getting autograph requests right now as we speak. How come nobody throws that? Is it because it's balsa and it's so light?
It is light.
It's light.
It's very light. I mean, it's you throw it more on spinning gear than you do casting gear. But I mean, I guess like a lot of baits, it's just outdated.
Yeah, there's new styles and everybody wants to try them.
And then
now,
once something.
Listen, you're still in style though.
I don't.
You've been around. Anymore. You've been around a hot minute.
Well, I was around when they invented that thing, probably.
Or you get it's like we'll take generationally. You get guys that fish certain baits for so long, something new comes out, they try it and they teach their kids to fish with that, not the old one. They grow up fishing. They get on.
But that's one of the best baits ever invented.
I think that's a Florida bait too, a big Florida bait.
You think it is more farm pond?
Well, it could be,
But you can catch spots and stuff on it today. Nobody throws it.
I didn't realize there wasn't that many people that still don't throw the SR5s or the SR7s. It's probably one of the best cold water crankbaits ever made. You
know what? Nobody. Honestly, this is going to be the truth. I haven't heard that ever spoken of this winter, except when you've mentioned it several times. Nobody speaks about that.
One of the best cold water crankbaits ever made.
All right, so hey, pull up Tim Hancock's right there. And again, we're back to Rocky Mountain PFA. Now going up. I like this though. I tried a big whopper plopper behind a small whopper plopper last year. That was a cluster, but I caught fish on it.
I was going to. How many times did he throw out there and the tail be wrapped in the leaders?
Oh, I bet.
There's probably an art to the cast. You got to sling that thing like you're throwing a sea rig out there.
Got to.
It's like throwing a. I just got back from Florida, so that's what's fresh on my mind is the popping cork with a shrimp on the back of it. So I'll wrap that thing around.
Oh, I know it. But it does catch fish. It does catch fish. Now, Joe wants to know any wake baits right now.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, yeah. Like he got excited. Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't start throwing the wake baits till the sun gets high. I'm weird. I know I'm weird for that, but I throw mine around structure. I'm putting it around docks. I'm putting it around where there's shade. I'm going to bring them out. I want to.
You're calling them.
I'm calling them to me.
I got you. Okay, makes sense. Now, the next Tim Hancock comment right there. Now we're back on Rocky. And when JP Burton, this is what Tim, who's out there a lot, when I fish topwater at Rocky, I throw big, and he capitalized BIG baits. a 7-inch spook type bait, a musky jitterbug, a big plopper. So he's going for that. He's trying to call that big girl up.
Is Rocky? What kind of baits?
Gizzard shad out
A
the
lot of
wazoo.
gizzards?
What out the wazoo?
There's some
that's-
gizzard shad out there that are, I mean,
They break your line.
Well, that's why
They're
the big
huge.
topwaters on Altoona work so well.
Gizzard shad.
There's a ton of gizzard shad.
Okay. Well, then let me ask you this question. The bait in a given lake determines what topwater you throw. So let's say a lake that's threadfin heavy.
Threadfin heavy, like Carter's. I'm going to go with something like the little riser or something small.
Okay.
Every once in a while you can get a topwater bite on Carter's. It just depends on the day.
Right.
More cloudy days you'll get a topwater
On
bite
Carter's.
on Carter's.
And so now let's say a blueback lake.
Blueback lake, that I'll throw your 5 to 6 inch, something that's a bigger herring, or I'll stay with the 3 or 4 inch, depending on what they're targeting.
Right.
And
then you get
gizzard
gizzard,
shad or American shad heavy, the shiners. That's when you go to the big stuff, the 6, 7, 8 inch topwaters.
Okay. Hey, Tim, appreciate that. So JP, maybe, there's you some advice. Next time you get out there on Rocky, go big or go home. Connor Hewitt, is it too early for Seville type baits on herring lakes? Now, again, based upon what has been talked about in this shop this week, the answer is they're throwing them right now in certain places.
Well, you talked about the herring spawn.
Yep.
You're already starting. Every year there's an early spawn in a herring, but it's very isolated. It's only in a few places in the lake. Like you said, they were doing it on bridges, stuff like that. It's isolated. You don't really start seeing the heavy herring and shad spawn until May.
Okay.
Once that happens, that's when you start targeting your blow throughs, your long points, anything sticking out in the water that's hard cover, boat docks. A lot of I actually target houseboat motors a lot during the shad spawn.
They do spawn on them things, man, like
And there's
crazy.
some monsters that sit up underneath them houseboats waiting for something to get close
You
enough.
just got to avoid the Karens.
Yeah.
The Karens of the world like that. So appreciate you talking so long. Let me get my dip in like
You're
that.
welcome.
You're awesome, dude. I love you. All right. So the broke back for Paula was magical. Hey, I liked it. Did you ever throw one of them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I know you and I do because
Around
we're
the turn of the century.
we're
Sure
of the age. We're of that age right there. Here, Fred Ashcraft's got a good little point right there. If he misses them on topwater, follow up with a Zoom trick worm rig Cinco style. Pick your color. I hadn't thought about a trick worm, which that might lead into as well. It's that time of year for the methylates and the bubble gums, is it not?
We about
Yep.
missed it.
We about missed it already? You think we missed it?
They do it before spawn. That's when
That's the best time.
That's the best time. They're still going to eat it right now.
But we still got some. We ain't even figured out if they're bedded yet. You know what I'm saying? So
I mean, you're going to catch them right now
Yeah,
on it, but
I think
it's
they still
not.
eat it.
It's not as prevalent as it would have been, say, a month ago.
yeah.
When we had that dirty water come through and we had that warming trend and everything, that's when I would have had the methylate trick worm out there
Okay.
looking for a big one.
But that's something this year. Last year, that was like everywhere.
Not wacky style though, would you?
No, it's
No,
a
we
Texas
need it.
rig
Texas,
Yeah.
with a
weightless
twist.
Texas rig, and you can put a twist in it, or you don't have to. You can rig it just straight, because straight, when you twitch it, the tail does more of a snake kind of movement. With the the thing, it
The
kind of
swivel, yeah.
it glides.
And you use the swivel to keep the head down.
Help the
nose
head
over there.
down and keep my line from twisting up.
Twisting so
Yeah.
much.
So I it's already up in the comments, but I know Justin Warren said, "Farmer dropping juice and then we'll walk all over you." Listen, and you hear this all the time. Throw that information out there. Not everybody can fish everybody's game, so that's the thing. And he's confident in what he does. So back to Tim Hancock's comment, JP Vern right there. He's answering Tim. That makes sense to me. It's right above your cursor right there, but that makes sense to me. Because the only topwater I've caught them on was loud buzz bait and a plopper. So making that big bait, that big presentation. Those lakes are a lot smaller than Lanier, of course. But I tell you what, There's some giants, and then they feed on them big old gizzard shad like crazy.
But see, we're still targeting just shad.
Yeah.
You got a whole nother bait fish, bluegill and brim, shell crackers.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even got into that. Yeah. The brim cometh, as Ryan used to say.
Well, Ryan's got a good point. I mean, the biggest fish or some of the biggest largemouth I've ever seen will sit about 5 foot off brim beds and just look at them. And if one screws up and comes too far off, he eats it.
Just waiting. Sitting there like a crouching tiger.
Mm-hmm. When the brim,
them old big girls don't get big by swimming around. They just wait for it to come
by. They sit
by.
off there on a stump or a little stick or something right there off them brim beds, just waiting for one to screw up.
Yeah, no, it makes
choke
it. They want to expend the least amount of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've seen them do it with crappie too.
It's a buffet.
When the crappie are spawning, because the crappie spawn before the bass do, if
Right.
I'm not mistaken. The bass will literally sit underneath a school of crappie, and if they think they can eat it, he's going to try.
He's going to try. Well, they make crappie baits for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for sure. Pull up Hog Wild right there. Hog Wild Fishing. What a name. I'll also throw a Rapala X-Wrap behind the topwater bait, like a spook. If they are missing the spook, a bunch. I don't know why, but a little black silver or blue silver X-Wrap will absolutely get choked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Now, I want to ask this with the X-Wrap, because the X-Wrap is a jerkbait style bait, is it not?
It is.
Is it impeding the topwater action at all because it's pulling back? See, when I'm fishing topwater, it's coming with the bait, not trying to
like
pull
your
against
streamer
it.
you're talking about.
Yeah, it's coming with the bait.
I don't know if he means at the same time or following it differently.
Already throw it at.
Yeah, after they miss the spook,
may
he's
have-
coming
I may
back
have
up with the
Yeah,
extra.
and
may
that
have
might be
misread
what
it.
he's saying, because he says, I throw a Rapala X-Wrap behind the topwater bait like a
I may
spook
have
if they are
misread it.
missing it. So that might be his follow-up
I
bait.
may have misread it.
Yeah, so that might be what he's saying.
Basically what you were saying earlier. Get something that gets down there quick.
Something a little gets down there, doesn't let the school go away.
Okay, right there. So yeah, so now that we read it, I think that's what
Yeah.
he said. Guys, we're about 4 minutes away from the question of the night. If you want a Evolve rod sleeve, it's going to be for a bait caster. It's going to be the regular length, which will work any 7.2 and under rod. Great stuff. Pull up Tim Hancock right above the one right above it. Yeah, I want to hit that. Tim's doing good tonight. He's throwing them out there. When we're talking about these big baits on Rocky, you can't just let it crash into the water. You have to slow it and pull it back a little bit as it hits the water. So you also got to feather it a little bit in the water. You don't want that big coop rouge, but then once it's in the water, make your commotion.
Well, I mean, makes sense. Everywhere you go, it's presentation. If your presentation's off, you're not going to catch them.
That's why I suck.
If you're throwing we'll say if you're throwing a mag grass up there, because it's a big, bulky bait, it makes a big splash when it hits the water. If you're just throwing it up there and you're catching them in the first couple feet of the bank, that thing plops down in the water and fish are like, they're gone.
Yeah, spook them for sure.
Those fish out at Rocky, I mean, they see lots of people. It's a small lake. I mean, you make 5 laps around it, so you really got to.
You don't
kinda-
think
you
got
gotta
to
trick
as
'em.
well, though?
It can call. It just depends on the pressure of the lake.
Yeah.
I mean,
Rocky's heavily pressured.
you go to Lanier, I've sit there and watched. I'll toss and it was a bad cast on my part, but throw it a foot in front of a school of fish going down the bank and then turn and run from it.
Yeah.
But you go to a lake that's not as heavily pressured and you throw on top of their head and they eat it.
Right away.
Just total reaction
Yeah.
bite.
And it just depends on how pressured that body of water is.
Yeah.
How much these fish see something thrown at them.
Right. And Tim said, he goes, I was on Allatoona on Monday and Wednesday morning. It was like a tomb. Absolutely dead, but I was strictly topwater. And for those that don't know, Tim ain't going out there to catch 14-inch bass. He's hog hunting.
How you looking for a big one?
He looks. That's what he fishes for. So that was about the double popper rig. Yeah, his one thing. So not on separate rod. Okay,
Yeah, he does.
I'm
it
just
on
trying to get
separate
some of the
rod.
comments. Okay, so absolutely. All right, so let's do the question. Let's do it before we get in. You guys keep the questions and the comments coming because you're making my job so easy tonight. Again, right now, as always, let me go. Fish North Georgia is not responsible for the proper answer of this question. This is all on Kevin. So if it's wrong, it's on him. But this is a doozy. This is a little bit of a doozy question that when he told us tonight, it was like, this is going to be a little tough for you guys. But again, you get a Evolve rod sleeve. You got the answers back there, Tim?
Yeah, we do.
You do? Well, Kevin's going to look too. So I know Kevin's going to be watching like a hawk. So you ready?
Yeah, I got here late,
We're
so
ready.
All right, go for it, dog.
All right. The question is, what brand of boats were used in the 1971 Bassmaster Classic, and how many rod and reels were allowed per angler? Once again, what brand of boats were used in the 1971 Bassmaster Classic, and how many rod and reels were allowed per angler?
It's a very interesting question because back in the day, they all had to have the same equipment or similar. I mean, not like today where everybody's got their own brand of boat, their own rods. No, back in the day when it first started, it was very close.
Forrest Wood had the same boat for every angler.
Okay, so there you go. So it is not a Ranger. I know
they're all taking a wild guess at that one. Assumption.
I see part of the answer right in the comment section, but it's not a Ranger boat because that was our guess. You would think Ranger back then. As a matter of fact, Kevin dropped it that Ranger came in the following year, so that would be 1972. That
Correct.
Ranger came in.
Correct.
All right. So you keep looking right there, and we're gonna keep you all right there, big dog.
Clint, you're close.
Clint Bartlett's close. Everybody look at him, but we're not there yet.
Clint's close, and
We're not there yet. So
There's your hint.
Christopher Elrod, what are y'all drinking tonight? Well, tonight's Sky Squirrel Sour. It's a wheat fruited sour. Don't ask me how it's made. It's just very tasty. So, and again, you guys go to edwardmead.com and check out the meat. Get some of it delivered to you. We highly recommend. What is it? What is that one you like? The Airbnb?
Yes.
You like the Airbnb, the Granny's apple? That's a good one. Are we there on?
I think
No.
we. Well, hold on, Dave and I are going to confirm.
We need full brand or name of the boat, not just half of it.
Oh, he wants the full.
Huh?
We're getting picky. Wait a second. What about
That's it right there. Is it not?
Click on that.
which one?
Right there.
JP. Right
Yep.
Okay, there you go. So all right, so
JP
JP's got it. The answer is a Rebel Fastback, and each angler had 4 rods, and they were all probably 6.6 pistol grips.
And they were only allowed 10 pounds of tackle. And if they had more than 10 pounds of tackle, the guy running the tournament would take out what he wanted to take out. You couldn't take out what you wanted to. He took it out.
If you were overweight,
Over 10 pounds.
I'd be up the creek without a
boy, listen.
Wow.
Hey, listen. How much drama would that cause today? How much drama would we wouldn't be fussing about forward facing?
They'd be guys scratching it out on the boat ramp for that one.
That would be like going into somebody's tackle box and go, no, I don't like that one.
That would be a fun little pot tournament. Sit there, just have a couple guys, and the guys get to go to the other guy's boat and take out what they want to take out, and they have to fish with what they got left.
You know what? That would be cool. That's kind of what you're saying. Like it's a
What
safe.
if we did a grab bag tournament where you just get a little sack with lures in it, and it's like, see you at 3.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Catch fish with it.
Catch fish, or every angler is allowed to go to the angler down, almost like a white elephant thing you do at Christmas, and pull one rod. Everybody's got to have their 5 or 6 rods on the boat, and
Pull
the
one
angler
rod.
down can pull one rod and set it. You know, and
They
the
can't
tournament
use
director
this one.
can't use it. That would be good,
Go
Lord.
put it in your truck.
I can't imagine. I cannot imagine the arguments that would get started right there. So,
First person would walk up to my boat and go,
Okay.
there's that jig rod. Let me take that away from you.
all right. So, Joe, where are those brews available at retail? So you can go up to the city of Dahlonega and go to Etowah Mead Beer and Wine, and it's actually just north of Dahlonega. Awesome little brewery right there. It's right there, and then they got the little area, the bar area right there. They do trivia on Thursday nights, or you can go to EtowahBrewery.com. Now, one thing is, the United States has a law: you're not allowed to ship beer. Cannot ship beer in the United States. You can only ship mead because it's classified as a wine, because technically it's a honey wine. So there's your little tip tonight. But yeah, go check them out and tell them, put in a little thing. They let you Fish North Georgia sent you. But I'll send JP Vern. I will send that rod sleeve home with. I'll send it home with you, Tim. You'll see him before I'll see him again, right? You think?
Hey, I'll store that in my boat for you. It'll be ready for you next time we go
That's
fishing.
right. So we'll do that. Let's see if we can get back to the questions. We would have a tussle a few rounds with old Ray about that rod limit and another few for the weight limit. Absolutely. That would be, that's something. I don't know why they got away from it. I'm sure sponsors come in and money and different rod brands. Back then, there probably wasn't 128 different rod brands available out there. And they had 90 horsepower motors that were the size nowadays of the 350s.
It was a 90 horsepower, he's right.
They had like the old Model T. You get out there cranking that. You got to crank that thing
Well,
up.
he said earlier that he and a buddy were watching old videos, tournament videos up there. Yeah.
Hey, there you
that's
go.
where he got the 90 horsepower.
Okay. Now, the beautiful Miss Terry Thornton, I had to read this twice, and I'll tell you why. First of all, she says, "Hey, my good-looking fishing guys." Thank you that she went plural right there. I love my hubby's questions. Just got home from the shower, from a shower. I actually, when I first read it, I thought she just got out of the shower, and I was going to make a funny.
Well, it
but
could be that too.
It could be that. It could be that. Well, Miss Terry, thank you very much. I promise you, as good-looking as your husband is, you are carrying the load.
No, she
And
meant
that-
shopping.
Oh, she went shopping.
Oh, hell yeah, because I'm here. She went shopping.
Oh, hell yeah. He
Of
said,
course you did.
He's gonna check his bank app in a
Oh,
minute, and he'll
listen.
vapor lock on that, and then
Yeah.
Ken back there will be
He-
excited.
He different kind of vapor
gonna
lock
pull his
right
phone
there.
up and look at.
She said,
look
"What I
expensive.
spend on fishing, she gets to spend shopping."
she's still better looking than you, though.
Oh, absolutely.
You did. You outpunted your coverage there, big dog. So,
Yes, sir.
and again, Miss Terry, hey, we love you.
See,
We appreciate
she's got
you.
shopping bags.
Oh, shopping. Okay. Not shower bags. I actually thought you just walked out of the shower when I first read it. I was like, I don't know if I
I'm
need to
glad
say
she
so.
put shopping bags.
Let's see. I think Corey Smith made a song about that place in Dahlonega. So there you go. It's a very cool place. You guys definitely need to check it out.
Sorry, shopping.
Sorry, shopping. There you go. We love you, Miss Terry. Appreciate you joining us. And actually, all you're doing is sitting home Googling over your husband. And I understand. We do that before the show.
There's just a solid question.
Yeah, here's a solid question. Getting back off Miss Terry in the shower. What is your favorite thing to do this time of year? Big baits, topwater, ball and chain, etc. Everybody knows mine, so I'll let you guys go first. What's yours, Jonathan? Right now, this time of year.
Top water.
You like the topwater?
It's the buzz bait and the horny toad and the walkers, and this is when I start pulling them out.
You like and probably the quality of the fish is a little bit better on the topwater, like those horny toads and stuff. Shallow, you still got the largemouth in play.
The horny I'll pair up the buzz bait and the horny toad as a 1-2 punch
right now. So you're not throwing
Open
just
water.
specifically a horny toad.
No, open water, buzz bait. But if I have to put it around something, put it underneath the dock, horny toad.
Because you are the best skipper I know, so I get that. What about you there?
If I got to go with the morning with the buzz bait as well, or topwater where I can work it slow around structure. But I'm gonna throw a spinnerbait after that.
The spinnerbait's a
Old
legit
school
way
there.
to catch some big ones this time of year. The big bait too, though. Once the sun gets up, hard for me not to go to a big glide bait. Once the sun gets up around docks.
I just started getting into the glide baits.
For the last 2 years, I've really kind of invested some of my time that I do go out there and I practice, or I go out there and fun fish with the kids. I put one rod on
baby.
one rod on the deck, and it's a big swim bait. Trying to learn and that's how I figured out during this time of year when these fish are spawning and you can't see them. If you put a big glide bait or big swim bait up, even if they don't eat it, they still hit it. They show themselves. They come up and show themselves, and you can wait 5 minutes for them to go back where you saw them come up from. Throw something else in there and pick them up.
Okay, makes sense. What about you, Tim, back there in the dark?
I'm probably gonna throw. I'm with you. I'm gonna throw a wacky worm this time of year.
Hey,
if we're
there
in
you
shallow
go.
water or anything
Shallow
like that.
water.
Wacky rigs caught some monster.
It has. And if we're Altoona, probably buzz bait or spinner bait.
Yeah, I think I do if I'm going for largemouth, I throw a green pumpkin or a darker colored, maybe with some glitter in it to mimic brim.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm going for spots, again, it's the monster shad. They don't have the number's 306, something with large chartreuse like that. So
Yeah, let Danny tell you how big a fish wacky rig catches.
okay. Lake Notley, first time I've been in a boat with Jonathan. We come up to some docks, and this was the infamous me. Oh, and I got to tell you this. This was the infamous me reeling upside down. We look under a dock. listen, we look under a dock and it's just they're sitting there and it's just they're big.
There's a row. It was like 9 docks in a row.
Yes.
And every dock you come up to had a 3+ sitting underneath the floats that you could literally just look at and see. And you'd skip to it, anything to it, and it'd eat it. Well,
yeah.
We've gone down a couple docks, and he was trying to skip his wacky rig on a bait caster under docks. Well, he was doing the notorious ringing the dinner bell and hitting every float. Well, it finally blew up on him. Well, he couldn't get it back, so I saw a big one sitting there. When I say a big one, it was a good one. Its head was about like that, sticking out from underneath that dock. And I threw him my rod and said, "Here, get him." He skips under there. It doesn't sink 2 seconds. It engulfs it. He hooks it, and he reaches for that handle, and it's not there.
It's not there. I reel with my right hand. I do. Listen, I do. And what did I do? Go ahead and tell everybody.
He spun that thing upside down and started fighting it, and that rod bent backwards. He was sitting there fighting it, just trying to get it back. About that time, that rod goes,
broke off.
Fish is gone.
Yeah, or whatever. And then what did I tell you?
Don't you tell us.
I looked at him. I said, "Don't you tell anybody." But the reason I want to say that is Blake and I were at Latham, and this guy that was not in the tournament come fishing through, throwing it looked like a fire crawl chatterbait back in the timber with the spinning rod turned upside down. He's about your age. I mean, he was an older fella, and he did not. I mean, he was doing it on purpose. On purpose.
It's going to sound mean, but every time I see somebody doing that, I just want to walk up to them, take the rod out of their hand, turn it around, and go, "Here."
Yeah. Listen, he was, and Blake, and I can't repeat it on here exactly the colorful language that Blake used, but it basically is, what is that doing? Look at him, and he had it upside down. He was reeling backwards and everything. But he cast. That's the way. I guess maybe he learned how to fish that way. I don't know, but that was the infamous. Yeah, don't you tell anybody what I did moment like that.
Am I a bad father because I took my son out fishing and was teaching him how to fish with a spinning reel? And the first thing he does because he's used to his Zebco is he turned that thing over and started to try and reel it, and I snatched it from him and said, "This way." That's it.
No, it's right. Else he's going to end up being 52 like me. Now, I just did it in an emergency.
Yeah, I mean, you said that, but I throw my spinning reel, I reel left-handed, but when I throw a bait caster, I reel right-handed.
Yeah, I'm one of the few chosen people in this world, and I do say chosen, that use their right hand for everything. Bait caster, spinning reel, but most guys are like that. Left-handed on the spinning reel, right-handed on a bait caster. I don't know why it is, but I didn't pay no attention. I was just looking at that fish, and I just skipped it under there, and it hit it in sheer pandemonium, and it was fun, was it not?
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot
of fish that day. That was fun.
That's when I learned you're a master skipper.
That's the day you watch me skip a scrounger.
Scrounger. He's skipping a scrounger, 2-inch hole in this side of the dock, 2-inch hole on the other side of the dock. He goes, "Watch this." Always do that. I'm just sitting there mesmerized. And of course, I get one on it. Bang, boom. I rung the dinger. Yeah, the dinger bell is what I was going to say. Let's see. Go up there going up.
It's better when you hit the pontoons.
Oh, I'm bad about that. I can't believe I had no woman come out and fuss at me or man about hitting their stuff. Right there, Hunter Eichard. If you had to go to another lake outside of Lanier or Tuna, say maybe Eufaula or Gunnersville, David in the background over there.
Dave's back here.
How do you attack it this time of year? So since we have a resident Gunnersville expert on here or in here behind the thing, can he jump in your seat for a second?
I'm just going to slide.
No. He's going to jump in Kevin's answer.
I was going to jump in Kevin's.
He's
Okay.
going to jump in Kevin's for
Come
a
on
second.
over.
So this gentleman right here, basically between Lanier and Gunnersville, he has a place on Gunnersville. So look, hey, we're able to bring you what you want right here. So David, how would you attack Gunnersville right now?
Right now, I'm gonna throw. You're gonna love this. I'm gonna throw a wacky worm.
Mm-hmm.
Hole of the grass.
I'm gonna start with a buzz bait, spinner bait. If you can find it where that grass is up there close to the surface, even like a popping frog,
A popping frog.
swim jig.
Okay.
I right now at Gunnersville, I don't think you can have too many rods tied on. You probably can do a little bit of whatever you want to do.
Right now.
Chatterbait's always is a winner up there.
So just pick what you're confident with. Pretty much.
I'm gonna stick with.
But if you can only pick one,
Worm.
wacky worm. Now, your wacky worm or my wacky worm? Like
My
weightless?
wacky. I'm not going up there to Gunnersville with number one.
He does
baby
his
hook that you throw.
I throw the baby hook like that. Now he does it's almost what I would consider a Nico. Kinda, sorta.
Yeah, it is.
You use a nail weight.
I use a nail weight, and it's Texas rigged.
It's Texas rigged, but you're using like the VMC has. You're using that hook that has the little kind of the keeper that comes off or that holds the worm in place that comes off the top. So I don't know if there's a specific.
Is that the thing you showed us in here?
Yeah,
it
is. I think it's what it is. It's two little pieces of monofilament.
Yeah,
that are
cut very short.
And I throw a trick worm on it. I did play around. I did go get some of those other Reaction Innovation makes an 8-inch worm.
Yeah.
It's a little bigger profile for that. You actually don't even have to nail weight it
because it's so heavy enough.
But like we were talking about the last time, the problem with the way I rig it, when you rig a Cinco like that, even if it's a really big, like a 7 or 8, 9-inch Cinco, it won't hang that wacky like I want it to hang.
Right. So that's why you go with like the Zoom trick worm or something similar like that.
The trick worm works the best I found. It's just you go through a bunch. I mean, I've gone through packs and packs and packs.
Yeah, and his Texas rig, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not right there at the front. It's kind of about a third of the way into the VMC makes the hook. I had some here in the store. I forget the actual model, but
it's the finesse Nico.
Finesse Nico. So yeah, and again, he when he showed us, it was like a 6-inch trick worm. It
is. And the thing is you can do it with any worm that's a small diameter.
Yeah.
That's the trick to it. And I'll throw either 1 or 2 alt finesse, that VMC finesse Nico. But a big key to that is throwing it on a medium heavy rod.
Which you feel fussed at me already.
I fussed at you a little bit, but it's and I throw we were talking earlier about the Mimicking armor shad. I throw it on a drop shot this time of year. I caught some fish on it this last weekend on Lanier doing that. When the herring spawn kicks off, they really like it. But anytime I bury that hook back in, so it make it weedless, I do put it on that medium heavy, and it just gives the rod just enough rod to pop that hook out, and your hookup ratio is a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go, David. I appreciate you jumping. So there's your Gunnersville expert for tonight. You gonna follow up on that? Have you ever seen what he's talking about? That finesse?
Yeah. Well, I was going to talk about hooks for a second. You use your size 2. Is it size 2? Is what you use?
I use the smallest hook I can get away with.
Okay. So a drop shot hook, pretty much.
Pretty much.
I use either a 1 alt or 2 alt owner sniper for my Cinco, the wacky rig.
Yeah.
Is what I like. Gamakatsu makes a good one. And it's actually a weighted wacky head.
Yeah.
That's my 2 wackies.
Yeah.
As far as he goes, Texas rigging it, I looked at it the way he rigs it, and I was like, that's an idea.
It is an idea, and it's different because he said it's something a little bit different. He brought it in and let us look at it. I'm very finessey with my wacky work.
See,
and I think I just get a better fall.
He's talking about the grass in Gunnersville. It makes more sense the way he rigs it because it doesn't pick up the grass as easy. See, I'm having to go through the grass and looking for them holes in the grass, that sticks up right under the surface, I have to physically look for a hole and pitch my wacky rig to it and let it go down in the hole, bump it a couple times, nothing eats it. I have to hole hop. He can see a space in grass like that and throw it in there and work it through that grass.
Yeah, it's totally weedless.
It's totally weedless. So
it is.
It's brush piles. Go down easy to
do that too.
It is, and it's something that I'm going to try to incorporate.
Makes a lot of sense.
But the thing that blew my mind was I thought he would be bringing it in on a Cinco like that when we're talking like that. And of course, no, it was on a Zoom style trick worm, or just with a little taper to the bottom. You could do it with a softy worm, just anything like that. A regular worm. I did not expect him to bring that up here when we were talking about it.
It makes a lot of sense.
I want to ask a question about that day. When we saw that, there was a little twist where the hook came in. Do you twist the worm on that, or was it just that day you showed us?
It might have been me taking it out and redoing it.
Yeah, the big what I do is when I run because you know that monofilament leader sticking out one certain way, I run the the worm up sideways, and then when I get above it, I turn it, and basically what it does, it locks that worm in place.
Using that monofilament kind of keeper.
Yeah, it almost just makes like a little keeper there.
Yeah.
And then it won't slide down. Like I said, the big thing is you got to put, if you weight it, you got to put the weight in on the same end as the bend of the hook, because otherwise you have to flip the hook all the way around in the fish's mouth to get a hook in them.
There you go. Listen to all the knowledge being dropped here. What other podcast around here can you get all these experts in one place other than me?
I love it. He was talking my language when he mentioned swim jig.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. And last time I was on Notley was with Kaz Anderson, and even though it wasn't a swim jig, he had pitched up under a dock, didn't like his cast, was reeling it out, and that big Becky, as he likes to call it, it came right out, and then he just goes, "Oh my goodness!" and he stopped and just let it fall for a second. That thing just engulfed it, and then it was, oh my goodness, going all around the boat. But that was fun to see. Pull up Tim Hancock's right up there.
He's got a good.
Interesting. I'm trying to figure out
that way.
Yeah, why Allatoona has been a foot over summer pool for a week now, and they're only dropping 1 inch a day. That's weird. Guberment. Got to have something to do with that. I don't know. Smarter people than I know the answer to that. But
Farmer and I both fish down there probably a lot. It's close for me, but I think that's one of the biggest struggles of Allatoona is that lake is constantly up, down, year round.
They can't figure out what depth they want it. I mean, it came up 8-9 times during the winter, and they yanked it back down instead of letting it stay.
Yeah, and sometimes it's drastic,
fluctuating it like they do in the summer.
How does that affect?
It was a foot and a half Tuesday over full pool.
A foot and a half Tuesday. Okay,
1.49.
So when you got a lake like that that's fluctuating crazy, how does that affect the bed fish? I mean, not bed fishing, but them going on bed to spawn.
Deeper.
They just do it deeper, and it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's down,
I'm pretty sure largemouth can spawn up until it's 12 foot, I think, and the water gets too cold.
Down deep when it comes that far down.
Spots can go up to 20 foot.
Okay.
22 foot.
All right, makes sense right there. So
it's not like they're all spawning up against the shoreline like all of us know and see them bedding in a foot of water.
Yeah, we know spots are back down a little off, and lots of times
largemouth do the same thing, but they're not as deep. They're a little more predictable.
Yeah, and one way to find a bedding spot that if you come off like a red clay bank or something, and you got that little shallow area, but then you get that little drop off that goes down to 5 to 10 feet. Something like that. You still, if you pay attention, got good glasses, you can see that little clear area down.
That lake,
it looks like
they
grass.
drop it a lot, but it can fill up fast with a good rain.
Mm-hmm.
It can.
Another thing with these spawning fish that a lot of I've noticed is when the lake's down, if you ever get a lake down, find your stump rows in the back of these spawning pockets and mark them. Because if you do that, those largemouth will spawn right up against them.
Against
and
the
that's
stumps.
Usually where your true giants spawn.
Well, the 12-pounder Jonathan Ray caught, of course, he's been very vocal where he caught it. It was in one of these little fingers, a small finger up near stamp and all that had some structure all around it. So caught it on a shaky head. I think that's crazy.
And it's still out there.
It is, and he let it go. So kudos to Jonathan Ray. Let's say, looking at the comments, I hate Wacky Rig, the Wacky right now. I bet I've got 10 different kinds of stick baits, and I just about refuse to use them anymore unless I'm pond fishing, and I still don't like them.
Why?
We're gonna change your life. We need to get you on a boat. We'll change your life when it comes to the Wacky.
The Wacky is if all you know how to do is fish with a spinning rod, the Wacky is the easiest thing to skip.
Absolutely, that's your
Dogs,
friend.
It is the only thing I can skip
that skips well and easy for everybody.
Yeah,
it doesn't make a lot of racket either when it really hits
makes no racket.
A fluke is a close second.
Yeah.
A fluke skips, but a fluke, if you got any chop on the water at all, it will catch a corner and shoot way off to the right.
Not where your target is like that.
I think the skip sometimes on that Wacky is what gets their attention because it's not a crash, it's not a pop, it's something all of a sudden it just hit like the water for them to come look at.
Something skipping across the top of the water like it's running from something.
Yeah, shad or something.
The only drawback to a weightless Wacky is it is so light. If you got any kind of overhanging, like under the dock, but then bars, it's something. If you don't hit it just right, it will bounce, and it's going through everyone, and then you got exposed to it. It ain't coming out. It ain't coming out. Fred, let's see. Hunter said, "Thank you for the response. Is that technique for numbers or for some Beckies?
Both.
Well, I mean, the wacky, I can bring out partner Dane. He had I'd say it was every bit of 9 pounds on last year on a wacky, and it was in April.
Yeah.
Fishing around a marina. That come out and it sitting there walking on him. He just couldn't keep it pinned.
Right. Well,
but a whack. I've seen more people catch big largemouth this time of year on a stick bait than I have seen just about any other bait do, because you can bed fish with it, you can dock fish with it, you can open water fish.
I've done that. Yeah.
I've watched Dane fish a wacky rig in 35 feet of water, letting it go to the bottom on a weightless wacky.
Mm-hmm.
Patientest man I've ever seen, but he catches the full out of them doing it.
And sometimes they'll come up to it. It never makes it down to the bottom.
Now that he's got forward facing sonar, he'll sit over a brush pile in 35 foot, throw a wacky over top of it, let it go down right above it, and pop it, and watch them come out and eat it.
They will. It's underrated for sure. And another thing though, what size hook does Dane like to use?
He uses the same hooks that I do now.
So he still uses a little bit larger hook and all that. So I just
1/0, 2/0 if he's using a bigger profile, or if the water's dirty and you can get away with a bigger hook.
Yeah. And pull up Tim's up there. And again, if we miss your question or comment, make sure you type it back again. So back in the 70s or something, they were doing Tim work where they were building a bridge over Altoona, or 75 bridge or something like that. We had a hell of a time dealing with the water level when we were building that bridge, and he does right above that. He said, everyone has to remember Altoona was built for flood control and power generation. The rest is secondary.
It's a watershed.
Really
it
good
is.
Fish that hang out right there at that 75 bridge.
Oh yeah,
Look at you
there's
smiling
a lot of old
look at
stuff down there
You
for
get
them
that, like,
fish to get in.
You look like you're 10 years old when you get grinning like that.
Yeah,
You
well,
got
hey,
that kid grin going on.
All I know is in February, if you don't have a flat-sided crankbait on that bridge right there, you're backing up.
And so this is kind of now. Surf Dad says they haven't generated power in over 7 years on tuna. They do release it, but they're not generating. I didn't know that. So there you go. Good. That's something to know. But right below that, and of course, if anybody knows Tim Hancock, he probably can tell you exactly what fish he caught on April. What's today's date? 17th, 18th. What are we? What April
18th.
Okay, I guarantee you that I could say, Tim, what fish did you catch on April 18th, 1998? And he could tell you. He keeps meticulous records, but he says keeping records and recording the lake level is a huge help in keeping up where productive structure is, which kind of goes to you marking things like that. So 100% on that.
Oh, I'm gonna give up what I do to practice on a lake I've never been to.
Yeah.
I've downloaded, and I'm sure a lot of guys do this, but I've downloaded Google Earth Pro, and I can go back in time on Google Earth Pro and zoom in on a lake when the lake's down. And I have found more rock piles, more stump rows, more brush piles when the lake's down than I've ever found sitting out there idling.
Yeah, for sure. And some of these, like Hickory Log in Canton and all that, you actually can go back on that and see when it was nothing but trees, and then watch them clear it out, and then watch the lake, watch them dig out the lake, and just watch them build the dam, and you can see that lake's entire lifespan on Google Earth. Yeah.
And me and my little 18-footer, I actually, because with Google Earth Pro, I can measure out my runs. I can go, okay, this is 20 miles to this, or do I want to go to this first? And there's 5 spots right here close.
Makes sense. Well, of course,
I try to plan out.
He plans out because he thinks his boat's not fast enough and all that.
I don't think it's not fast enough. I just know the gas tank on it ain't good enough to run
Well,
from Laurel
that's
Park
true. That's
all
true.
the way down to.
That's true.
That old 2-stroke don't like it.
Yeah. Cash Prodigy skips awesome on docks 100%.
Mhm.
Excellent bait. Excellent. I do like them. I hate to say it, I know Kitech is the standard. They're great, but I think I like this because they still get the movement and it's a little tougher.
That sneak rig that Ryan talks about all the time.
Yeah.
Is a great around the shad spawn. It works year round, but around the shad spawn, it is deadly. That little sneak rig he talks about, that little Cash Prodigy with the nail, or about the 1/8 ounce nail weight in it, and nose hooked and skipping it under docks.
And if you guys don't know what that is, you can go back about 2 weeks on Thursday night. Clint Bartlett and Ron Hanks were here, and they showed how to rig that up, if I'm not mistaken. Trey McKinney caught 90% of his fish in his EQ qualifying season on a Cinco, weighted and weightless. It catches fish, but I agree. There are guys that don't like it, refuse to throw it. I get it. It's, also a Zoom Magnum trick worm and a Magnum finesse worms are incredible. Nico and shaky head worms. Got a question out there from Brad Silvers. Now, I don't know if this has popped in right now, but what's your favorite nighttime topwater? What's the best place to fish it at night? Don't gatekeep over there now.
Look at that grin.
Look at him.
Jitterbug.
Jitterbug. Nobody throws that joker anymore. It's kind of like you love it. You say you still throw
I
it.
have jitterbug and a black spinnerbait.
Yeah, that's what he nighttime fishes with.
If they're coming up, I'll throw it when I've got a full moon,
Right.
when there's a lot of light, when they can come up and feed and do all that. When it's that pitch black, it's hard for me to throw it. I want something that's making a lot of vibration in the water down on the bottom where they're glued to something.
I'll throw when it's slick.
Yeah.
A jitterbug?
Yeah, that too. If it's slick, calm, jitterbug. Okay. But I'm only fishing it in the back quarter
Of a pocket or something?
Pocket.
Right.
Around lay downs.
Let me ask you, do you catch, and both of you can answer this, if you are throwing a jitterbug, are you catching more spots or largemouth?
Largemouth.
What about your experience?
Spots on tuna.
On tuna spots.
See, if I pull out the jitterbug, I'm targeting
a certain area.
I'm targeting largemouth.
I'll throw a buzzbait too now.
Yeah, buzzbait's underrated.
I throw a buzzbait around lights. Like if you got a lights or pole light sitting out there on the bank and it's shining on the water, I'll throw a buzzbait at it.
There's not many on tuna.
No, I'll throw a buzzbait.
Y'all have the green lights out there?
There's very, very
okay,
few
just
of them.
curious. All right.
But there's not near as many as like they've got on Lanier. I like a buzzbait around not dock lights like green lights, but if you got a dock that's just got little decorative lights that come down through there, that'll still pull bait fish up. Mm-hmm. I'll throw a buzzbait around it. But if I'm pitch black dark and pitch black fishing back in the pockets, it's a jitterbug.
So JP's got one with bedding season coming for brim. We're talking about brim here. Mm-hmm. First full moon in May. What will be the biggest / best change of technique to catch bass based on that? And I would say color is going to be more really important.
I'm going to really focus in on my jigs when that starts.
You like to throw a jig? Swim jig, or are we talking about the old Arky style?
Swim jig and an Arky style. I will throw a swim jig if I'm seeing a lot of movement as far as like
the brim are moving.
If I'm seeing a lot of brim on docks, pushed up under docks, if I'm seeing brim starting to make their beds back there, I'll do a swim jig, but I'll also do an Arky style, but I will thread a beaver style bait on the back of my jig. I'll make my jig very bulky and
so no finesse jigs. We're not throwing the Picasso little whatever.
No,
spotty.
I'm throwing something that's got a little girth to it. It's going to be. I even take the gill, the Becca. What's that?
I know what you're talking about.
The one that smells worse than any other bait I've ever smelled. It's the bellows gill.
Yeah, the bellows gill. Okay, yeah.
I will thread that the 3.5 or whatever, the smaller one on the back of a jig and make it. It looks just like a brim sitting there.
Yeah.
So if I'm targeting brim or bass that are eating on brim, it's gonna be some type of jig.
Okay.
To mimic them, or the big glide bait.
Glide bait. What about you?
I'll throw a spinner bait, and I'm gonna throw the bitsy jig.
So you go small on the jig.
I do.
You go. So
I'm fishing tuna a lot at night. I don't fish the other big lakes.
This is what I love about those. So you got just two different. You're both targeting the same fish, two different techniques. Spinner bait and a small jig. You're throwing a swim jig and a bigger profile Arky.
One thing that and a lot of people may think different, but I actually throw a prop bait around brim beds.
Really, just for that
mouth.
That prop bait is been spoken of a lot tonight.
Well, there's another, and then you can find them on Tackle Warehouse, and they're colored just like brim. They got a brim pattern, but they lay on their side. They don't lay
Yes, I
straight
know
up
what
and
you're talking
down. They lay on their side. I have 4 of those just for that time of year when the brim start bedding, and I know there's big largemouths just sitting there waiting on them. I'll
To
throw
mess
it up.
up, like you said.
If I got chop on the water at all, I'm going to throw that up there.
So when the mayfly hatch is going to,
That too. Mayfly. Well, I saw a bunch of mayflies last night.
they're starting.
All right, so we got brim active. We got a brim bed. We got chop on the water,
Mhm.
or we got a mayfly hatch. You're throwing that prop bait up in there.
Mhm. I'm
Yeah.
looking for that largemouth that's looking for one big meal. I'm not looking for that largemouth that's going through and just picking up one thing here or one thing there. I'm looking for that lazy big one that's just sitting there waiting for one to screw up,
Yeah,
and it sits there and just opens its mouth and sucks it in.
yeah. Listen, I mean, and guys in the comments, I can't read all of them, but yeah, you guys, a lot of spinner baits at night. But you know, he was looking for the Topwater idea, and you kind of game with that. But I think David Weaver's comment right here is to you what you just said with the prop bait. Are you looking for a reaction bite there?
Oh yeah, I'll pop my jig off the bottom too. I'm looking for reaction. If I'm fishing for largemouth or any bass that's sitting around bluegill, I'm trying to make them to react to the bait. I'm not going to sit there and drag a jig across the bottom.
You popping it.
I'm sitting there, and if it hits the bottom, it sits there for 2 seconds, and it pops up.
That's what
Goes
you're.
back
So you're
down.
looking for a reaction
I'm
bite
looking-
either way.
Either way,
Either way.
I'm
Okay.
trying to make that bass react.
Okay. Cotton Cordell Crazy Shad. Change the hooks though, Georgia Board 44 says.
Yeah.
Change the hooks.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Anything on the cotton cordels.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've heard more people complain about those hooks right
The
there.
cotton cordell spot is probably one of the best grass lipless that they're out there because they sink so slow.
Right.
But the hooks are crap.
Well, what brand of hooks would you put on?
Gamakatsus.
Just Gamakatsu?
Triple grips.
Triple grips. Okay.
If they're eating it, if you get a lot of fish smacking at it, especially with a lipless, then go back to your round bends. But I'd start out with your triple grips.
Okay, well, there you go.
It's harder for them to throw the triple grips
Okay.
as it is the.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Sticky.
They're sticky. Jeremiah Giles says, of course, prop baits and poppers around bluegill beds are popular for sure. And Joe says, I think Jacob Wheeler won a tournament on Lanier with that brim prop bait years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he also throws right out Owner ST36s.
Mm-hmm.
Owner makes a good hook.
Owner makes a great hook.
It is.
I love Owner hooks. They just a little pricey.
Okay. Hey, listen.
I
Absolutely.
love
So
Owner
you don't
hooks.
throw trocars, do you?
No. I don't like trocars because of how thick the hook is.
But not only that,
They rip every bait I've ever tried to rig.
they
on.
dull easy too.
But
Makes
I
sense.
love Owners. What's the Owner? That Owner screw lock that they've got that's that you can Texas rig with. I fell in love with that thing. Sharp hook, stout hook. I'm throwing it on. That's what I'm using as my horny toad hook now.
The Owner.
Is the Owner, and
The screw
the beast.
The Beast. Okay.
And I haven't bent it out yet, and I'm throwing 55-pound braid on a heavy rod, and you know how I set the hook.
You cross the eyes, baby. I know you do. Brad Silvers has got another great question. People are going to have to go back and watch this episode again. There's been so much good juice.
Yeah, if they want, they need to study on this because there's
This-
a pattern in here, guys.
There
There's some
is.
baits keep coming up.
They do. What about catching bedded spots at night?
And this coming from me, it's going to sound weird. Ball and chain.
Carolina rig. And why is that good for nighttime bedded spots?
You've got the clacking noise of the sinker and the
Right.
beads, but you're also dragging a bait through their. I mean, their bedding fish are so conscious of their surroundings. Anything gets near them, they're going to.
And
But-
especially the aggressiveness of a spotted bass.
Well, now you've got a weight dragging through their bed, so they're already ticked off.
And then they see the.
And now something else comes in.
So you're just
throw a
basically
lizard or worm behind it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Lizard.
ask. A lizard.
Yep.
4 inch, 6 inch, what?
Depending on the lake,
Let's say Alatoona.
4-inch,
Lake Lanier,
6-inch,
Lake Notley.
8-inch.
Oh, got the John Holmes up there.
Throwing the big one. But when I'm on,
I got him.
Here comes the vapor lock. Got
I
him.
almost got you.
Look how happy Ken is in the
when I'm on
background back
Knott
there.
Lake-
didn't say Linda Lovelace.
Oh God.
when I'm on Knott Lake, if I'm not tournament fishing, I'm looking for a monster just because I know that lake holds them.
Yeah, they're there for sure.
So if I'm not throwing a lizard, it's a Berkeley pit boss.
A pit boss.
On the back of
I'll
a.
throw a 6-inch on Altoona. I don't think I own a 4-inch.
I've got a couple 4-inch, but the only reason I
I
throw
could blow
4-inch.
you up right
I
now.
know, but
Like
you won't.
I could vapor
You
lock
don't
you
wanna
so
do that.
bad. When you start bringing out 4-inch, I got a ton of that material. I got a ton of that
It's
material.
on a good day.
Very good day, and it, not cold in the summertime. No cold either. Um,
We're going
I'm gonna
down
get
that
you.
rabbit hole
we
again,
went down that
folks.
rabbit hole.
We got it.
I'm pinching myself.
You're trying not to get vapor locked over there. A lot of guys talk about the owner hooks out there, and Joe's back. If you buy the owner screw-in pin, you can turn any hook into a weedless hook.
Oh, you can. Yes.
So what is that for somebody that doesn't know?
The screw-in pin?
Yeah, just
It's
a pin. It's just a pin by itself,
A lot of people call them dummies.
right?
For your A-rigs and stuff like the little screw keepers.
Just so you can put a non-hooked
There's
swimmer on.
Well, I've
Yeah.
talked to Ryan Hanks about it because when they do their sneak rig, they just hook it straight through the nose.
Right.
I actually take those owner little screw locks and screw it in as far as I can and try and twist it one more time to where that's hidden, and I'll take that hook and slide it right through that little ring right there. So now when a fish grabs it, it doesn't throw it.
Okay, that makes
It's
sense.
the same thing with that line through rig I do with flukes around this time of year. When you get a lot of fish that are on that shad spawn or that herring spawn that swatted a fluke, won't eat it, and you throw the treble hook on there, I take the old water balloon casings my kids have that you can screw onto the water hose and blow up what is it, like 20 something balloons in one thing. Well, they get done with it. I take one of them with me for a season, and I just cut it. I keep toothpicks, and I cut it the length I want and shove that in there. And now I've got that line goes through that straw. So if I catch one, my fluke's just free floating up there. I don't have to.
Man's got some juice tonight.
He does.
That's why I knew he was coming on.
And a lot of them balloon things, if you pay attention, they're chartreuse and lime green. So you'll have that chartreuse hint in your fluke.
There you go. There you go. Somebody's got to, keep me from sticking my dip fingers in my eyes. my eyes
stings.
It is stinging. Copenhagen and eyes do not go together. Tim says, I've got a buttload of different prop baits. I'll take some pics of them and post them tomorrow. Bagley, Dalton Special, Boy Howdy, Diamond Rattler. That would be interesting. Make sure you do that so we can pop that on the group page.
That Dalton Special is an old one.
Yeah.
I think Bagley was one of the ones I was talking about earlier.
Do you know
They're
Tim?
out of Winter Haven.
Yeah.
You and Tim about the same age. He might have a year or two on you. So you guys, y'all go back to Methuselah.
How old are you,
fishing.
Tim?
I think Tim. I'm guessing, and I might be wrong. I want to say 75. I might be wrong. So if I'm wrong, but I want to say that. But Tim Hancock, how old are you, bud? I seen what had to be a 10-pounder mid-lake on Notley swimming over a tree a few years ago. They're there.
Oh, they're there.
So
For sure.
when I did the podcast with
I got you, Tim. I'm 72 in June.
Oh, he is 72. Okay, so I think y'all were close. O'Neill Williams talked about back in the 80s, there was a bass tournament on Notley where the best 5 were in the 40s.
Mhm.
40 pounds.
Well,
That's in the 80s. It's been a while.
I don't get to fish as much as I like to, but like everybody else. I mean, if we all had our choice, to be on the lake every day.
Yeah.
But there was 5 years in a row on Notley that I didn't have one that was over 9 pounds
Gotcha. Yeah.
out of that lake.
It's got them.
It's got 'em.
It's got them. It's got them.
And you can catch them just about any way you want to. I've caught my PB on Notley on a frog. I've caught another 9-pounder on a fluke. Caught another one on a flashy swimmer.
Yeah.
2 on a jig.
Right.
1 on a spinnerbait. Every one of them 8 pounds or bigger. You can catch
Dude,
them
just
just about any way
depends
you
on
want
that.
to on that.
Wait, let me address Tim right there, right above that, real quick. Okay. So Tim, I can do them both right here. Notley had a tournament night summer, 9 bass at 101 pounds.
Gosh.
I don't doubt it. And Tim, listen, the 75-year-old. Listen, I was guessing. Don't you be making a video about me tomorrow on your YouTube page, fussing at me about that right there. I don't want to be the subject matter of that. We're friends.
Tim's going to be out there at his boat or
He's
the
gonna be out
back
there
of
at
his
his boat.
truck
He's gonna be
again,
sitting-
and
yeah.
Danny Pruitt's going to be the subject of the
Subject
evening's
matter.
topic.
He's going to do one. Let me tell you about that fat over there at Fish North Georgia that called me 75 last night. Hey, there you go. Don't you make no video about me, Tim. It is a lake that has giants, but
Has some giant spots in it.
has some, now that's what I was getting ready to ask you. Now that the bluebacks are in there, though, has it affected that size?
Size
or
of
anything?
largemouth are just like they used to
Okay. I was just curious. I might post this on the group page tomorrow. Any of you guys heard about this? So a buddy of mine, Scott Edwards, he sent me a thing of a podcast or something where a biologist was talking about bluebacks and whether they're good for a lake or detrimental. And this guy, and I haven't listened to all of it, but I'll post it tomorrow. A lot of guys think that bluebacks eventually will make your bass in a lake sterile.
I've heard the argument about walleye. I've heard the
Mhm.
argument that they make walleye sterile.
Yeah.
I have not heard the argument that they make
What was the
bass
reasoning?
sterile.
I don't remember. Well, I'll have to listen to it together, and I'll post that on Fish North Georgia's group page tomorrow. He sent it to me because we were talking about that, and we were talking about Latham
Mhm.
and why the big largemouth haven't come back to size. I think now he thinks it could be that. I think there's too many big crappie in that lake, but there's a ton of bait. But they're competing against each other.
I mean,
Crappie and spots. Well, when I was growing up on a farm pond in my dad's lake, if I caught a crappie, it either went in a frying pan or my dad said throw it on the bank. Now again, this is the 80s, so if any of you guys out there that are crappie conservationists, this is 1980 or in the 80s.
Unless we not
Crappie-
get our
Oh,
pants
look.
in a wad.
Scottster, biologist Steve Barton. Scottster, did you change your name, Scotty? Is this you? Is this Edwards right there? You changed your name? He probably got hacked or something. Hell, all night. If that's you, buddy, I would have shouted you out a long time ago. So, Kevin may have a month on me chronologically, but mileage wise, I'm about 312. So Tim Hancock has been rode hard and put up wet for several decades now, like that. So okay, so that's Scott. Okay, so Scott,
I'll give him that.
okay, so Scott is the one that sent me that. I tell you what, Scott, you post it on the group page, and I'll allow it through there. That would be because you already got the link and everything. But it's an interesting thought as to what bluebacks do to a lake. Now again, Latham's 340 acres.
Yeah.
If it's going to happen, it would happen in a lake like that, as opposed to a huge lake like Lanier that's 38,000 acres.
I mean, you've got
Oh,
you were talking about crappie.
I got
and
you, Brad.
Spots. Crappie and spots are the most aggressive fish that'll eat anything they can get a hold of.
yeah,
Crappie is bait fish.
Right.
I mean, you got a 300 and what did you say, 94 acre lake,
340
and how many crappie is just loaded with them, ain't it?
big ones.
They're eating the bass fry. Largemouth bass fry are easy pickings.
Ooh. And so the bluebacks,
Mhm.
blueback herring.
Bluebacks, and once they get so big, are predatory fish too.
Tim's just mad because he was in school when there were only 48 states. We ain't picking on our elders tonight, but that is pretty
Let me tell
funny.
you something there. Mr.
pretty
Hancock is
funny.
a very large,
He is a big
robust 72-year-old, tough-looking man. So you tread lightly with your comments there, Ewe.
He's a big.
He is a big boy, but that's funny as hell, right there. I might vapor lock on that one. Okay, Brad Silvers though, he's said this 3 times because I keep.
Yeah, we need to get him took care
Okay,
of.
so he asked about fishing for bedded spots at night. What's the best way to find bedded spots? Remember, I'm a Carter's guy.
Carter's, it's going to be your look at your what I call a stair step point on Carter's. There's a bunch of them on Carter's. Well, they'll go out and they'll stay about 15 foot, and they'll drop off into 20. They'll stay 20 foot, 20 foot, 20 foot, and they'll drop off again. That's one place to look.
Does it have like flats at all?
It's got a couple blow throughs. It's got very, very few flats if it's got them. I think there's 2 behind the beach.
If you're gonna bury a body, that's where you do his Carter's.
Yeah.
Get that thing down there about 400 foot. He ain't coming up.
Back there in Woodring, I think there's one on the left-hand side, but it's in timber, so it's hard to get to. There's a few.
So if he was looking, though, you would say that on Carter's, the best place to start is those step-down points.
Step-down points is where I'd look. Humps. Okay. I'd look at humps, and I'd look at blow-throughs. Everybody knows where this hole is. I may be giving it, but it's called Trashy Hole. It's right there where the island is.
Okay.
And they will spawn on that backside back there on that blow through. They'll spawn on the little island with the single pine tree sitting on it.
Boy, juice and spots tonight.
Yeah. Everybody fishes it. The Doll Mountain.
Well, it ain't about a 3,000 acre lake, so I mean,
the Doll Mountain marker poles right there at Doll Mountain boat ramp. They spawn there. They spawn on the one straight across from Doll Mountain ramp. That's the Doll Mountain campground. They spawn on that little point. It's picky poison. It's just go find you. Pretty much, they spawn on Main Lake a lot. Just go find your point, drag you a worm down it.
But on the Carolina rig,
no shaky head.
Yeah,
they get a lot of shake.
But if it's at night,
yeah, not.
Can you throw a Carolina rig on that?
You can
just drag it slow. Let it fall.
You got to have like a 3/4 ounce tungsten weight on
it down
to get it down there and keep it down there.
Okay, that makes sense.
I would. My favorite way to target the spotted bass on my 2 favorite ways to target the spotted bass on Carter's as far as bedding goes is either a shaky head with a Reaction Innovations worm. It's called a pocket rocket, and a
I'm gonna stop. I won't do it.
2. Yeah, keep a straight face, and a 2.8 Kitech on a 1/4 ounce head.
Pocket rocket.
Yeah, it's what it's called.
That's what he said.
Pocket rocket.
Pocket rocket.
If you go,
that's why you got that smile on your face.
If you go look at Reaction Innovations baits, every one of their baits has pretty much a dirty name.
Oh, that's right. That's that company that does that. So that makes. So I wasn't off when you said pocket rocket. Save your marriage. Anyway, David Weaver, pull that question up right there. We got about 8 minutes, guys, so we're gonna get through this really quick. Do you do anything to walk the dog topwater to get better hookups to your walking baits? Any changes you might make, modifications to get better hookups?
No. The best way I found to get a better hook set is you want a rod that's made for a moderate rod. Don't be throwing it on a fast action rod. You're going to pull it out of their mouth.
Yeah.
A moderate action rod is big. Also, when you get bit, don't set the hook immediately. Count 1, 2, and see if feel for pressure. If you don't feel for pressure, just keep working your bait. I've made it a thing. You at least count 1, 2 before you even see if they're there or not.
You know, my dad back in the day made me do that when we fished for shiners in a pond. Mm-hmm. If that float went under, he said count to 5.
Yeah,
he said it was scaling them or whatever. But he
never set the hook to the explosion. I mean, you're still going to do it. I mean, I still do it.
I get what you're saying.
That first one that comes up and just destroys a bait immediately. It's you're like, crap. But they ain't going to come back.
Well, they say it's best not to look at it.
Yeah. You sit there and
that's so hard.
It's
hard not to do that.
You see the explosion. 1, 2, no pressure. Keep fishing. Comes up and blows up.
Let them have it. Let them take
it. Yeah.
1, 2. Oh, there's pressure. Lean into them. Don't set the hook. Just lean into them.
That is a learned thing, though, because we all know when that thing blows up, what's the first thing we want to do?
Yank.
Want to yank. Absolutely. So, guys, I did let the pocket rocket slide a little bit. I'm trying to be a better person. I'm really trying to be a better person.
Mr. Hancock is policing us just a little bit tonight.
He is.
You notice I called him Mr. Hancock because he's a big dude.
Because he's a big boy.
He's a big dude.
He's only 72, not 75. Never ever set the hook on a walking bait. Let me see. Pull that up. Tim's up there. Let me see if I can read that right. Never ever set the hook on a walking bait. Do not set the hook until you feel the fish load up. Okay, I got you now.
That's why I was saying, like, when I count 1, 2, and I start working the bait, I feel for pressure, because they're not going to drop it in the 1, 2.
Also, the moderate action rod.
The moderate action rod's going to give too. So you're going to drive that hook home enough by just pulling into them.
You throw them braid?
Yeah, braid to mono leader. And the mono leader's 8-9 inches long.
Yeah.
It ain't much.
Interesting the way you answered that, Tim. The West Antioch over at Rocky. I've seen the biggest bags come out of that side, but I've seen more tournaments won out of East Antioch.
Isn't that odd how that works that way?
But yeah, I watched, I forget his name. One man sat over there that fished with us, and his name, Randy, and I forget Randy's last name, but we had a 2-day classic on Rocky, and he sat over there almost at the end of the rocks, all the rocks that are laid out on the dam on East Antioch, and there's a concrete structure. Well, right off that is kind of almost like a little ledge, kind of a ditch right there. He sat in that spot for 2 days by himself, and it's a team tournament trail, and he won that tournament running away. Shake your head off that thing.
Oh yeah, if you run in the East Lake and you go over there where the church is, kind of to your left, if you're facing those rocks, it's a big flat that comes up, and it's always got fish on it.
Yeah, he just absolutely waylaid and won that thing. So let me see if we got any final questions going down. Did we miss anybody? Mono is greater than fluoro on walking for me. Never had to worry about it getting off. I get that. Tim Wyatt, there are no fish in Rocky. Tim Wyatt and his buddy Justin had the best 5-fish limit I have ever seen at Rocky. And Tim, you can put Randy Moore was the guy. It was Randy Moore that won that tournament. But Tim can put the weight in there. I want to say it was 36. Tim put it in there, buddy. I mean, it's 36, 8, 30 something like 35, 36. And his buddy Justin broke the late record walleye twice in one day and didn't know it, threw them both back. So the only thing I do, let's see. The only thing I do for walk the dog bait is to change the red hook on the front hook, exactly kind of like what you're saying, giving them a target.
You give them something to key on. I mean, it's. But the only time I ever do that, I mean, you can pull a. Let's see. Let's think of a topwater here. All right, we go with a Lucky Craft gunfish because I like the gunfish. In chrome, pull it right out of the pack, throw it. It's good bait, works great. But if they're coming up and smacking it, a lot of times they'll come up and hit it close. If you've ever noticed a spot when they come up and hit something and you're never putting a hook in them, but they're blowing up on it, knocking it out of the water, they're hitting it with a closed mouth. They're just trying to kill it. That's
stun it, kill it, and everything.
But if you give them something to key on, a lot of times when they open their mouth if they've got something to key on.
Yeah. So Eric Richards, bigger treble on the back with a feather. If I'm late to the party, if that's already been said, sometimes just changing that might be. I like a
pretty good size hook on the back one, but if I've got a lot of fish that are eating it sideways and that front hook's getting it, I'll put triple grips on the front.
Okay. Can you put a bass boat in those lakes if you don't use the big motor? Yes. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tim, you fish out there all the time.
Yeah, on Rocky, any of the lakes, idle speed only. Don't confuse that with no wake, or they will let you know. I assure you.
Boy, they
put it in gear and go wherever you need to go. That doesn't mean just don't get up on pad, because they will write you a ticket.
So you can run your big motor.
The ticket's like $280 if they decide to nail you with it.
So, but you can run the big motor. You just got to put it in gear, and that's it.
Absolutely, you can put whatever you want in there.
I knew that, idle. But you can use it to load up, right?
Oh yeah, you can power load up on your trailer.
What's idle on an electric boat? Absolutely. So.
Oh yeah, so you're good. You're in good shape now,
dude. I finally seen Kerry Bells in action the other day. He's got that stealth. I don't know. That joker just left us. I have never seen an electric boat leave us like that. And we all got the Elcos and stuff like that. It was crazy. Rocky equals little chick. Yeah, it's kind of like that. But Rocky is one of the lakes though that guys can go out there and just have a monster day, turn around the next day, and nothing.
You are hero or zero out there. That's about the only way it
you are.
goes.
And
I've always wanted to go out there. I hadn't ever been out to Rocky. I want to go just because of the size of fish I've heard that are in that place.
well, good Lord, they're eating 2-pound gizzard, Chad. It's just crazy.
Call me.
Huh? Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. So, all right, guys, look, hey, we're right at the 2-hour mark. It's been a great episode. Jonathan, I want to thank you for coming up. I knew you would come up and spill the knowledge. There's another comment right there. So it does get busy at Rocky. But again, Jonathan, thank you for coming up. I knew you would come in and be honest with your answers, and we would be able to get a lot of good information. And there's been a lot of good juice dropped tonight. So if you can't catch a fish out of what has been said tonight, take up bowling. I don't know. There's so many different ways to do that. And of course,
Hey.
glad to see you back there, Pops, over there with your question.
It is great to be
It
back.
was great to be back. Tim, you did an outstanding job. A lot of comments tonight and us going back and forth. Y'all guys do not realize how hard the job is that Tim is doing right there. That is a tough thing. Guys, hey, listen, we appreciate every single one of you. We'll be back next Tuesday night. I don't know what we're going to do yet on Tuesday, but again, we'll be back. Emil and Kaz will be here next Tuesday night. So we're going Thursday. Tuesday night's going to be my other one. I ain't figured it out that. So we're just going to talk fishing. So you guys join us. And again, go back and watch this in the night. It's definitely worth it. And tell everybody a lot of juice was dropped. So you guys, if you're on the water this weekend, be safe out there, especially if you're on the big lakes. The crazies are out already. So be safe. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week.